getting organised.
Well, hello there, everyone.
Evening, chaps. Long
Hello.
time, no contact in blood.
It's been a while.
It has been a while. Evening all. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, hello there.
Good to see
Yes.
everybody.
Yeah, I was looking. It was it's 11 months since you guys had me on. I thought you were avoiding me.
We were
Nope.
for about 11 months.
We
Yeah.
tried.
I think you're avoiding yourself.
It's been, how long since we've been on? What, November was it? Or did we do it in December?
I think so.
No, it must
We
have
didn't-
been
We
November.
didn't do one in December.
Yeah, I forget what you guys even covered last time.
It was
I
the
know we-
thrash, the second
I know we talked about doing this video
albums of thrash.
back in November. It's been,
Yeah.
been a few months since we've, and it's not like we've been working on it for 5 months, is it? It's
No. As you'll tell by the next few hours, we've not been working on anything.
Yeah, it's just logistics, isn't it? You know, and especially with me, like I was saying to you boys earlier,
Hey,
about
Josh.
doing 12-hour days
Trevor.
and weekends to catch up with my boys. It's difficult sometimes finding the time,
Of
but
course it is.
we do our best.
You're good.
Evening
But that's what makes
all.
it so special when we get together.
you can,
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
sounded-
you would get
Roger.
people, wouldn't there, if we were on too often, I suppose.
John.
Oh yeah, you just
Sure.
get fucking sick of us.
Oh, shout out.
Peter,
Yeah.
good
Peter.
evening, sir. And Josh.
Very good.
Fabulous.
Major Lee looks a little bit young to be up at this time of night, but never
Wendy.
mind.
Wendy.
I like Trevor's comment. Good evening, gentlemen and Darcy. What's you got against Darcy?
Oh, those damn Canadians.
I think my little boy's watching this before he goes to bed, so I've just got to give him a little wave.
Yeah.
No,
Good lad.
Brayley. See you soon, mate.
Yeah, have a good sleep.
Yeah. Mr. Brumblebase, I hope he's not going to be too disappointed.
Yeah.
Came here for Darcy. No pressure, Darcy. No pressure.
Yeah, you're the star.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys, if I said it in my last video, but I think you guys called 10 or 11 people before me, and they all were busy. So
Yeah.
whatever. I'm
Yeah.
here.
We called 8 people before Mike.
Marty.
Marty. I'm drinking the Marty special right here.
Marty's kind of the inspiration behind this topic, really. He made a video probably about a year ago now, talking about the dark side of collecting.
Yeah.
And I just loved it. You know, found it very interesting. And I know when I spoke to all of you boys about it, it's a topic that's close to all our hearts, isn't it? So, and I'm sure a lot of you people who are tuned into us now will have seen Marty and his cronies doing a video last night on a live stream on exactly the same topic. With me working, I've watched bits of it. I haven't seen it all, watched bits of it, but I thought it was it's brilliant. It's always food for thought. It's great to hear how other people, how other collectors do things, you know, and the way they organise the collections and what does it for and what it doesn't. But yeah, so hopefully it'll be a good topic of conversation tonight.
Well, yeah.
Because we're all addicts, aren't we, boys?
I was gonna say Marty and Ellen always do a great job. They're a couple top guys, I'll tell you. I didn't get through the whole thing yet, but I watched most of their stream last night and just sit back and listen to them. It's great, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I listened to it all. I didn't watch it because it's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning here, but I listened to it all and pretended to be asleep to Julie. But I listened to it all, and I think the 2 videos will be like a good sort of companion. Think of them as like Keepers 1 and 2, because they're not going to cover the same. They're not going to cover the same things exactly. They didn't say the stuff that we're going to, and we're not going to ruin their video or our own by what we talk about tonight. I don't think.
If we do ruin theirs, it'll just be complete because we've ruined ours as well.
Oh, yeah. We can only ruin our own.
Well, we can try our best. not to. Right, so where are we going to start, chaps?
Maybe you should start with the story of Scott's massive red eye.
It's almost like a butterfly splatter.
It is, yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It looks like the death reissues.
That could be a picture. That could be a picture disc. I don't know if it's in this one as well. I think I'll
Not
bust
too
that
bad.
one as well. Yeah. So anyway, well, I'd be better in case you noticed it anyway. I'd be probably better telling the story that I was out last Sunday, and it was my mate's birthday. So we were going out on what you'd call a Sunday sesh, which is a session of drinking on a Sunday, quite straightforward. So what you do before that is, the first thing you do is you take the Monday off. That's a must, because you're never making it to work. Well, in retrospect, you take the Tuesday off as well. But I only had the Monday off. So anyway, because of COVID, because of lockdown restrictions and stuff, there's probably about 19 of us out. We hadn't seen each other or been out all together for about 3 years because of everything that's been going on. So everyone just went fucking hell for leather. Just power drinking from 1 o'clock in the afternoon, pool, you know, all that stuff, game of darts, pub crawl, all that stuff. And then I don't know when really to stop, so I didn't. And in the process of this, I am smoking, which I've not really smoked cigarettes properly for 7 years. I smoke a vape, obviously you'll see me smoking the vape, but so I was smoking all day, so that didn't help. And I slid over on my back in somebody's house. I fell against somebody's garden gate from like the other side of the garden. And then it all kind of ended up with me going upstairs for a piss, and then head down the toilet, and then just spewing rings around myself with my mate, whose birthday it was, in his house, going, "You'll be okay. Just get it out. Just get it out. You'll feel better once it's out. You'll feel better once it's out." And I vomited that violently that I basically burst the blood vessels in my body.
That's so metal.
So I basically woke up in the next couple of days and both eyes just went completely black under here, up here, and this is just basically my eyes recovering. It doesn't really show up that well on camera, but the whites of my eyes are actually like a really dull yellow just now. And as you can see, I've got the kind of the pinwheel splatter going on.
I was watching a zombie series earlier, and you wouldn't have needed makeup, mate. That's just exactly as the eyes were. Great stuff.
What wasn't the last stream started off by a story about your getting absolutely smashed on edibles?
Yeah. So we thought it'd be apt for me just to kind of dive into this story first.
I think it's probably the way we should start everyone.
Yeah.
Because
the metal theologian with his different orders and that. Yeah.
With the months in between, Scott's bound to have done something mental.
Yeah. And
it's inevitable.
And then to tip it all off, I woke up the next morning and realised I'd pissed all over my kitchen floor.
Yeah, some things you don't have to share.
It's only happened to me twice. The first time it happened was on the night I got engaged, or my engagement party. I came in, pissed all over the bedroom floor, all over my iPad. My wife was my fiance at the time was saying, "What are you doing? You're peeing in the bedroom."
I'm sure she was actually saying, "What am I doing?"
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think I made a terrible mistake. So then I went through, washed my hands in the bathroom, and went back to bed. So yeah, woke up when I walked through my kitchen. I was like, "What the fuck's this all over my floor?" I thought I had a leak, but I did not realise I'd had a leak.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
So yeah, that was my my Sunday sesh.
Well, I thoroughly enjoy these Scott the Mentalist, Rock Scouts intros to our live streams. They're perfect.
So anyway, the dark side of record collecting.
We've got the best part of 40 people that have joined us so far, and they're probably wondering what the hell they've joined.
Yeah.
with that clickbait title that we've got up, and it's just Scott's.
The thing is, before the next live stream, I'm gonna have to do something even more mental now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it could get quite dangerous
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the thing is, we don't want to intervene. It's too funny. I want to wait for the next story.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, that's what me and my pals always say. We can never go out and just have a nice beer and a game of pool and all this kind of stuff. We always go out, fucking wreck the town, and then come back and then wake up the next morning going, oh, for fuck's sake.
Well, you're Scottish.
Yeah, it's kind of in our blood, I think.
Absolutely, it is, yeah.
But I'm fine now, so.
Good,
right,
lads.
yeah, so the pros and cons
yes.
of music collecting.
Where would we like to start?
At the beginning.
Okay.
With him down there. He's
With
got
our-
to take the lead as the guest.
With our guest.
All right, so
And welcome to the video, Darcy, by the way. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
yeah, you know, it doesn't feel we're in such close contact with Darcy anyway. We don't feel like it's essential to do that, but for other people who don't know that, they might think, oh, who's the Gru of Darcy there? So
Yeah.
what's going on?
Yeah, who's that old gray-haired guy on?
Mm-hmm.
Who brought their dad?
Granddad.
Yeah. Well, what do you want to start with? You want to start with how did we get into collecting, or
yeah, I mean that's got to be the first question, hasn't it? What sort of appealed? What's the appeal with it? How do you get into it?
No collection to all of a sudden realizing you've got one.
Well, you know what? Actually, what happened, I didn't even realize how much of a collector I really was throughout my whole life. Looking way back, I mean, it started probably when I was about 11 years old, 10 years old. I'm here in Canada, so I started collecting hockey cards. And it just started turning into an obsession of, you know, I need every one of these hockey cards. I can't stop at just, you know, a little stack. I collected hockey cards. Then I got into comic books, probably around 12 years old. And then probably, I think around 14 or 15 years old is when I really got into music, which was, I think, but prior to that, I was about 10 years old and my auntie bought me a copy of Kiss Destroyer, actually on vinyl. I don't have that copy still. It's long gone. And, you know, I'd say Kiss was kind of my, you know, gateway hard rock / metal band that, you know, the whole makeup and all that stuff just was really a big draw for me. So I would say from I was 10 years old till 14 years old, I was collecting some Kiss stuff, but it wasn't until after that I really got into, you know, collecting. Of course, for me, it was always cassettes back then. I didn't make a transition to CDs till probably 1990 or 1991. I think the first CD I ever bought was the Metallica Black album. But I just realized, thinking, you know, when you guys, you know, were talking to me about joining in on this, that I've been a collector of numerous things my whole life. And I guess you could even go back to, you know, the little Star Wars figurines. You know, I couldn't just own one of those white stormtroopers. I had 10 of them. Like, I had to have them all lined up. And so I guess I really have been a collector my whole life. And I'm sure, like you guys, there was a big gap in your life where, you know what, you fell off a little bit. You know, kids came along, maybe the finances weren't there in the middle. But I never really stopped being a collector. But again, I didn't really realize, I'm not going to say how bad it was, or just that I am a collector and I need to, you know, face up to that. So I think a lot of you guys are in the same boat. And I have two boys. They're 25 and 23 years old. They're, you know, they're out of the house a few years ago. You know, a lot of freedom now, but I would say there was a big period there where, I couldn't afford shit. It was always one step forward, two steps backwards for, early on when you were married, things like that. But as far as just collecting, I think I've been a collector my whole life, and I just really didn't realize it.
That's a bit like me. I mean, obviously you guys started collecting music way before me. But even before I collected music, I actually collected hockey cards because I used to play ice hockey when I was younger. So I had a big stack of hockey cards. I collected all the Lord of the Rings toys. Kept them all in their boxes. Still have them in a box, all bubble wrapped. About 30 of those figures, Lord of the Rings figures, all just pristine in a box.
Yeah.
And then when I did start listening to metal, hard rock, obviously I started off with Motley Crue. I started collecting, well, you guys probably seen some of my stuff. Like I've got a big box full of Motley Crue, like memorabilia, like signed items, posters, all the tour books, the tour programs, all that stuff. It's just, it must be something that is like in you that you've got to just, you've got to have things. And it's almost like, I think collecting on its own is a hobby, whether it's record collecting or collecting other things. I mean, like you say, we've all collected different, like you've collected different things, Darcy. I was the same. But once it got to the music, I was really bad for downloading music. And I had, just thousands of songs, not even albums, just thousands of random songs on my phone or on my iPod or whatever. And it kind of got to a stage where I thought, I'd quite like the CDs of some of these things just to have for the car or whatever. And then it just snowballed because you get a CD of, say, one band, Motley Crue or whatever. And then you think, no, well, I found this CD, that's quite cheap, so I can pick that up as well. And then the snowball just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it goes into vinyl. And then it just expands and expands. So, and I think for music, because I love the Lord of the Rings films, but it's not important to me. Do you know what I mean? But music is important to me. It's something that I couldn't go without. So it's good to visually see your collection and not just have a list of music on your phone. So for me, that's why I collect, because I like to, physically own it rather than just have a list in front of me.
Yeah, totally.
I think it's someone mentioned it there about Panini stickers, and without even realising it, when I was at school, that they were a big thing. Panini sticker albums from the football, the World Cup, and it did become your mission to try and fill that magazine, put all the stickers of all the players of all the teams in there. But I was quite lucky because my dad had quite a big vinyl collection and tape collection when I was growing up. So I would see my dad on certain days when my mum was out and the house was quiet, and he'd get his records out, and I'd see him doing the whole sort of religious thing of getting the vinyl out, cleaning it, putting it on the player, sitting right in the right place. So quite early on, I was kind of aware that my dad was a collector. Not that I was. I was still of an age where I hadn't quite picked up on the music. I was still busy playing Transformers and footy with the lads, But when I did start to get into music, my dad had let me listen to his records. If my son wanted to borrow my records, I'm not sure if I could deal with it, to be honest. I'd be like, I'm not sure if you can touch that. I'd have to stand near him to make sure he looked after him. My dad was quite cool. He was, he was quite cool, my dad. And just went, have a listen to that. And for my birthday, I don't know what year it was, how old I was, but I bought a stereo, and I suppose without even thinking about it, I just started buying tapes and vinyl, and then I was going with my friends to record shops and buying music, and I don't even think I thought about it any other differently, because I'd seen my dad did it. My dad was the same. He'd come home from the shop with a record bag with things in it, and it was almost just the normal. And I think it was only when I bought my own house, and the girl I was with at the time, she said, "Oh, you'll need like the box room for all your stuff." And I was thinking, how much stuff have I got? Because it was just in my bedroom at parents' house, and it filled the room. Vinyls and CDs and cassettes and Star Wars figures I had, and just little things, little knickknacks that I'd sort of kept. And I suppose at that point you think, well, I'm a collector. There's no way of getting away from it, is there?
One thing I thought about too, Mark, is before I jumped on YouTube and met all you guys, and I didn't even call my CDs a collection. I just called it my CDs. It wasn't, and then people said, "Oh man, you have a nice collection." I'm like, I guess I do. I just kind of just thought, okay, this is my music. I never really thought of it as, the collection.
Yeah, well, back in the day, I mean, me buying music nowadays is massively different to when I bought music in the 80s. There was never any consideration of a collection at all. I didn't know about different presses or anything back then, and it was just getting a copy of the albums to me when I started. So if I was in with a big group of lads that were all into it. So if an album come out and somebody bought like Nuclear Assault, then in my mind I thought, well, I don't need to buy that. I'll buy something different, because we kind of all bought for the collective, and we would consider, well, there's no point. And it was only when something didn't take our fancy, which wasn't that often really, but if something didn't take our fancy, we would buy something that someone else already owned. Or if it was one of the huge acts that you did, there was only a handful of bands back then that you thought, no, I need to get all the Metallicas. And because I'm going back at this point, they'd only gone up to Master of Puppets.
Yeah.
So you were like, oh, well, I need to get them 3 Metallicas. And then, and when that Garage Days came out, you were like, oh, well, I'll get that as well. But there wasn't many bands like that. So you didn't overlap very much. I spent way more money on TDKs than I did on vinyl.
Oh, yeah.
And, as long as you could get a good copy of it off someone, that was all that mattered. And if we had but most of my collection was built up off stuff that blind buys that I bought because of the album cover when I'd been out on my own or something like that, or with a smaller group of friends, and I'd discovered something and thought like Mordred Fool's Game or something, and I was like, oh, that looks interesting, and they're on Noise, I'm going to buy that. Then took that back, word got around about my group of friends and stuff, but nobody else will have bought Fool's Game. They've just copied it off me, and maybe someone else would have then a few years later, but I remember someone bringing me In This Life because I didn't buy that. And it didn't matter. It was just like, as long as somebody bought it, there wasn't nowhere near the thing that there is now of, I need to get my own version of this.
Yeah.
But I think that goes down to the fact that when nowadays, like now, us, we wouldn't be going round to our friends' houses listening to music. You listen to it by yourself, don't you? Whereas those days, you went round to your mates' houses and you listened to the music. And I agree, like completely what Mike said there. I spent so much money on TDK tapes, and it was like the first thing you did when your mate bought a record, you heard it, get us a copy of that, do us a copy of that, and that was what we spent our time doing, that backwards and forwards, didn't we?
I remember spending time agonising over which 2 albums to tape. That was a thing. You were like, right, well, I'll take Nuclear Assault Survive on side A. Well, what am I putting on side B? It's got to be fitting. You couldn't put like Skid Row on side B. That would be shit. It has to be something that goes with Survive. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was like an OCD thing there, wasn't there?
Absolutely, yeah.
Most of my collection, now I come to think of it, back in the 80s, and again, it wasn't really thought of as a collection. It was my music.
Yeah.
Was again on dub taped. I would buy maybe an album a month if I'd save my pocket money enough. I used to buy a lot of 12-inch singles because I was shit at saving and I could get something a lot easier. Well, they were about £2 or £3. I would buy those instead of 7-inch singles because there was an extra track on there. And there would normally be something you would never hear, especially things like the Iron Maiden ones. They'd have a message to Harry or some stupid song on there. And I kind of feel like I was getting to know the band better because I was hearing these little, these daft songs that they were putting on there. And I just thought they were brilliant. But I didn't realize I was starting to collect until I nearly sold my collection. And that was just before I started doing the YouTube stuff. One of my friends up in Edinburgh, he was mad into vinyl, and I was saying, like, listen, I've got my old collection back up in the loft. It's all metal stuff, and he likes a little bit of metal. And I said, let me have a look through and tell you what I've got. And I made a list for him. And as I was going through, I was just thinking, like, oh, I can't sell that one. And it was the collection itself was only about, I think had about 80 pieces of vinyl. That was 12-inch singles, albums and 7-inch singles, and I realized I couldn't get rid of them, but I couldn't just keep them, so I had to buy myself a turntable. And then I discovered the whole YouTube thing, and then it ballooned from then. And like you, Mike, I had no idea what a different pressing was. One of the first times I went on Discogs, I decided there was some albums I actually had to get, like the Iron Maiden ones. I've got to get the Iron Maiden albums now because I'm going to collect the Iron Maiden OGs on vinyl. And I found a really cheap copy of Killers on vinyl, and I thought, brilliant. I think I probably got it off eBay. And I had no idea it was a 1985 Fame repress, which is why I got it for 20 quid cheaper than an OG. But for a brief period of time, I thought I'd got it. It was brilliant. And that's when I realized the collecting bug got me, was because even though I had a 1985 and 80s pressing of the Iron Maiden album, it wasn't the 81 pressing. And I needed that one. Yeah, and that's when I think I realized that I was getting in deep, and then I discovered things like Discogs and realized what the different pressings and things were, and that's only really come in the last 7-8 years.
I knew about the Fame thing. I did know back in the day about the Fame being like a budget version of it.
I had no idea. I didn't care about it.
But I didn't give it much thought. And the other thing I knew about was the Metallica DMM gatefold versions, but that was because of my cousin whose collection I showed a few years ago, with all the picture discs and stuff. He understood all that back then, and when all I knew was his Ride the Lightning was a gatefold and mine wasn't, and he's had a big DMM sticker on it, so I knew there was some variations, but I didn't actually stop to think about them outside of sort of the ones that were hitting me right in the face, like them and the Iron Maiden Fame ones. I didn't think that would be a thing that happened all over. You know what I mean? And of course, we didn't understand reissues as much, quite honestly, because you were buying them as they were coming out. So there was no such talk as reissues, was there?
Yeah. I was about to make that point. Yeah, that was the same. It was only really sort of talking to people in the VC. And talking about reissues and looking for these OG presses, because a lot of the stuff that I've got in my collection, I bought back in the day, and then I never sold it. So it was an OG press that meant nothing to me because it already was an OG press. It's only since I've got talking to other collectors that becomes very apparent, And I suppose looking at albums that I didn't have in my collection that I always wanted, then it became very apparent that, I'd quite like the OG press. I'm happy with the reissue, but
it's a bit of an elitist thing, isn't it?
A lot of my collection is the OG press, so I think it's like like Mikey likes to have the same sort of version of a set of albums, the same sort of issues. So I suppose if a lot of your collection is an OG collection, that's kind of what you want. to a degree, you know. And there's almost like I don't need those bonus tracks. I just want the OG press, because that's the one I remember all those years ago that my mate Paul had, and I never had it. I just had it on the mixtape, and you know.
To be honest, I mean, I don't want to sort of burst anyone's bubbles, and you might not even agree with me anyway. You might not think I've burst any bubble, but I actually think down the line, the OG will be the only thing that matters. I think that the reissue, it's nice to have, and a lot of my collection's made up of reissues, because I wouldn't be prepared to pay for an OG, or by the time you get older one, it's beat to shit. So there's nothing nicer than a brand new, you know, let's pull the shrink off repress. But I don't think they'll matter in the world of selling later on in life. If people are wanting to buy them, I think the OGs will be the only thing we give a shit about.
I think it depends on what the release is.
Yeah. If it's an anniversary thing, if it adds some stuff like Rush, for instance, have just announced their new 40th anniversary of moving pictures, and I mean, there's a little video where it shows you laying out. You know how they make these videos where it unboxes the item and puts all the stuff out on the fucking hell. That Rush thing, it's never ending, is it, Darcy? You see all the stuff.
Yeah. There's even a set of drumsticks from Neil in there. There's so much stuff in there, but it's pretty nice.
It's like a few £100 though, isn't it?
The thing is though, I mean, if you're looking at, like Andy said, it really depends on what album you're looking at. I mean, some albums only got 200 pressings. Do you know what I mean? So those reissues are going to fly off the shelf and probably, you know, they might not be as valuable as the OGs, but they're still going to be pretty highly priced because they're still going to be sought after. So, I mean, I'm like, if you're talking about something like the Beatles, who have had their discography reissued 60 times, then fair enough. But I mean, you're looking at these old metal albums that really never saw the light of day, even when they were released originally, and they come out with these reissues that just get snapped up. Then, you know, there is a case for
definitely
having them as.
I just meant as a general sort of overall average.
I have to say that the best thing that's probably happened to me over the last couple of years is getting over the stigma I had about having to have an 80s original. There were some albums I'd get them on CD, but I wouldn't get the vinyl, and I was missing out a lot of these reissues. A lot of the reissues are fairly limited, and I just wasn't getting them because I was going to wait for the OG. But now the prices are just beyond me. So I've got over the fact. I mean, I made a video once about.
I remember your video
reissue, and I was beating myself up inside because I bought the reissue. I didn't have the original, and it killed me. And then a few weeks later, I found the original. I just suddenly felt happy, and I just thought, why is collecting making me feel like this? And eventually, I kind of got in the right headspace, and now I can quite happily buy. I mean, I've been after Hall of the Mountain King for such a long time, and Scott sent me a link once on eBay, and it was super cheap, but I kind of missed out. Thought it'll come round, and now it's like 40 quid plus all the time. And the reissue came out this week, and I'm content. I'm okay with it. You know, I don't have that horrible feeling inside that I've not got the copy that I want anymore. And
I mean, I remember. I mean, you've just got to think to yourself, all right, you can hold out for an OG. That's fair enough if that's your thing, and it is. Sometimes it's the thrill of the chase. You know, you want that OG, you want the kind of the golden egg kind of thing, but you're doing yourself an injustice because you're just holding off from listening to an album you'll really enjoy when you could just easily go out and pick up a reissue. I mean, all right, it might not sound production-wise the exact same as the OG, or you know, the cover might be a little blown up or whatever, but you've still got that music there that you can sit down and you can listen to and you can enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, somebody had a go at me. It was a couple of years ago now, but somebody had a go at me on one of my videos because I didn't do as much digging in the wild, and they were all about digging in the wild. They had to find everything in the wild, and I was always on eBay, Discogs, Amazon, and I was like, well, what's the chances of me finding any of these albums in the wild? No, it's hard enough to find easy albums to find. Do you know what I mean? Rather than these like far off like gems that you're probably never going to find. So why would I sit there for years and years and years not having this album because I need to find it in the wild when I could just nip on Amazon and have it tomorrow?
I think maybe that side of it is it's like that hunt thing he was talking about and if you buy it on eBay and you buy it on Discogs and all that, they go for the true value. I think people like to go, and I don't do it very often, but I think people like to go and find stuff in the wild in some little tiny bookshop that does a little tiny vinyl section, and they're going to flick through it, and there's Forbidden Evil, OG, mint condition, £5.
Yeah.
Do you know?
What's the chances of that, though? Do you know what I mean?
Exactly, but I think that people have still got that draw. Do you know? Oh, I might find a real gem, a hidden gem, and someone doesn't know the value of it. And I do think people want that when they're in the wild, because that's the sort of draw of OGs is trying to find them. If you can get an OG for half the price, you're made up with yourself, aren't you? Oh, you know, I've got that for. It's going for 40 quid ever, and I've just picked up for 15 quid.
Oh, that's the thrill of the chase.
Yeah, and I think that's where that hunting in the wild. But you know, with the internet and the way it is nowadays, even the second-hand shops, the little tiny, even the charity shops, they're savvy. They just little tap on Amazon, little tap on Discogs.
Yeah.
So
they're all clued up now.
All those, they're all clued up, absolutely clued up, and you're not going to find.
Actually, they're not that clued up because a lot of them will just go for a higher price. And you look at the vinyl, it's trash. You think, well, why are you putting this on at 20 quid when it's, it's clearly not mint. It's clearly not in a decent.
I suppose what they've wised up to the value of it, but not, when you get into the meat and potatoes of it, the condition of it and what if it's.
I was at a record shop on Monday, and in a glass case they had an original Canadian pressing of Power Slave for 60 Canadian dollars. So that's about what, 38, 40 quid. And it was in okay condition, but I'm like, I am not paying that when I can slide 5 feet over and buy a brand new reissue for $30. Like, what? Why? I don't need it. I'm not that. Obviously, you guys know me kind of as the reissue guy, because when I started not even rebuilding my collection, I never really ever had much of a vinyl collection prior to this anyways, but I'm going to go the reissue route and just kind of hold out. And like I've told Mike before, everything is getting reissued eventually. It's coming. Just hold your ground. You don't need to pay $100 for, or 70 quid for an album. That's insane.
Yeah, somebody's just asking, speaking, would you settle for a Russian bootleg if an album isn't available? I have Russian bootlegs of albums.
Got a couple.
Yeah, I've got a few.
I have about a dozen, but I make sure, to be honest, that there's absolutely fucking no chance that I'm buying an original. Because
the thing that's going to come into it is it available? And is it fucking 60 quid? Or 70 quid for a fucking CD.
They're the ones I buy on Russian.
Yeah, I would be happy to buy a Russian, because the Russian bootlegs, although all right, they're fake, but they're brilliant. I mean,
I done a comparison.
It's not like having.
That's not great. That's a Russian bootleg, and I was duped. I thought I got an absolute bargain price, but turned out to be a Russian boot, and it's not great. CDs, I think, probably these days, modern ones now they're doing a much better job of ripping them.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't have any Russian records. It's the CDs I've got.
Just
and
CDs.
Honestly, it's hard to even tell the difference.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, they're good.
No, I got a couple on CD. I personally know they're there in my collection. They bother me a little bit, but those are what I was just alluding to before. those are coming around one day. They're going to get a reissue on vinyl. Just, you got to be patient. And okay, for example, those two Atrophy albums are coming out on vinyl. I don't know about the CD version, but I've been wanting those for a long time. I easily could have picked up some Russian bootlegs, but I'm like, I'll wait it out and pick those up. And here they are. And okay, even we were talking about those two Sabat albums. I would love to get those on vinyl like you have, Scott. But I'm going to wait it out. They're going to get reissued eventually. They will.
My biggest issue is if I see something on eBay, I think, wow, that was great, and I look at it, and it says ships from the Russian Federation, I'm just not interested.
No, that's like me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I don't know where else I would come across Russian bootlegs unless I went to a shop and somebody said, and I actually found one there, but I don't think I've ever found something that's a Russian boot in a secondhand shop. That wouldn't bother me picking it up if I thought it was great, but I wouldn't go direct to the seller.
But again, that would be, for me, that'd be like CDs. I would have no bother picking up Russian CD bootlegs because they come in there. They're awesome. I mean, they are what they are. It's just like having the real CD. Although you know in your head that it's Russian, it's pretty much having the CD.
I did a comparison with the Ultraviolence, with an original and a Russian side by side, and I was like scrutinizing them with a fucking magnifying glass, and it came down to the thickness of the paper. That was it. Yeah. And the Russian one was fractionally thinner.
That's one I've got. That's one of the Russian bootlegs I've got, is of the Ultraviolence.
And I sold my original Ultraviolence for a fucking fortune and kept the Russian one because I had Frolic on Russian and I didn't want to have one of each. You know what I mean?
Now
you're going to own the Russian bootleg collection.
Yeah.
You know what, guys? The one thing that does concern me is how many knockoffs do I have in my collection that I'm actually not aware that are knockoffs? Because I have heard of even Amazon in Canada. Maybe they're unaware. They're probably unaware that they're selling knockoffs, and I've heard of that. So that concerns me too, because like you guys said, they look pretty fucking good.
The market's flooded with them. I bought a CD off Music Magpie, and it was a good price. And when it arrived, that I'm convinced it was a Russian boot, and that was off Music Magpie. You know, so someone's obviously sold that to them. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
But I think that just goes to show you that how much collecting and the physical format has become a thing, because the Russians have clocked that, and they've clocked all the rare metal, a niche market, and they're bootlegging all the hard to find albums, and they're flooding the market with them, which makes the originals that much harder to find, you know. And you're not always convinced, even if it's an English seller. You know, I'm regularly messaging people and asking them, can you give me not just the barcode, I want the matrix number, the IFPS number, just to double check, you know, or can you take a picture of the center ring of the CD, because they're all a little bit different, and that's how much they have flooded the market, really.
Yeah.
But that just, like I say, goes to show that physical format is as strong as it ever has been, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what about different formats? I mean, with the cassettes, I have around about 250 cassettes now. Obviously, everyone knows it's all glam metal, but I do
264.
Oh, right.
I haven't mailed this yet. So I'll mail it on Monday. 264.
Well, get on with it.
14 more coming.
I hope there's another 3 packages there. I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah.
But I decided to do that with the cassettes because every time I was looking for glam metal albums on CD, some of the prices were just fucking hideous. And I thought to myself, and I kept seeing the cassette version of it for a fraction of the price. And I literally have got all like 250 cassettes, probably for the price of about 40 or 50 CDs. that's how much cheaper they've been. Maybe not even that. Maybe I would say I could find 30 CD versions of the albums on them shelves, and that they would pay for all those cassettes.
But what's mad about that, Mike? And this is talking about this collecting thing. How long ago you've got 250 cassettes, and you started collecting cassettes about how long ago?
About
2 years.
No, not even that.
It's not even that, is it? No, it's such a short space of time, and because you bought a few, and that's the collector thing in you. You become that. Oh, hey, this is all right. This, I'm finding these for a really good price, and
Now,
all of a sudden, you stop looking for vinyl and you stop looking for CDs, and it's all about the cassette. And it's like
I got lucky as well because I think I've had less than 5 that I've put them in and went, oh fuck, that's knackered.
That's
and
great, though.
The people I've messaged and said this doesn't work, they've just give me a full refund, or I'll just keep it or whatever. And I've left it there as a placeholder, and if it comes up again, I know which ones I need to get rid of, and throw them out.
As a collector as well, though, I've loved watching you do that, because you were just all pretty much CDs and a few vinyl, and then you got into the cassettes, and I just loved the fact that you got so into them, like all of us collectors do. When something really piques your interest, you become obsessed and you dive into it. I've got a new cassette deck here because my other one wasn't working very well, and it was starting to sound a bit muddy. Yeah, it's a TIAC one, and I bought it from a guy fairly local to me, and I think he was into his music himself, so it was looked after. And as soon as I got it back, and I've been putting my cassettes on, and they just sound so good. And for the last probably 2 weeks, all I've been about is cassettes. I've spun a bit of vinyl from time to time, but I've just because it sounds so good, and I've got this new deck, and I'm like, oh yeah. So and my sort of search on eBay switched from CDs to cassettes for a little while. I've kind of I've just dove in head first. There's no going back.
There's a lot of new bands. If you go to a place like Bandcamp, that are putting stuff out on cassette because it's so much cheaper to produce. And I picked up. This came out today.
Oh yeah, I listened to that. That's pretty good, man.
Yeah, it's only a 3-track single EP, but just seeing bands are just chucking stuff out on physical media, and
it's lovely as well, because there's so much nostalgia for me around cassettes, because that was the first sort of thing I started buying, and a lot of these new bands, the smaller bands, the underground bands, bringing these cassettes out, and it's going back to, well, especially the music I listen to, the underground death metal. A lot of them, it's like the old demo tapes that people used to trade and send, and that's what these bands are doing. They're sending tapes over to Ken's Death Metal Crypt, and he's talking about them, and it's like that's what you did back in the late 80s. They sent them to Zines and people like that, radio shows to talk about them, and it's I'm completely loving the nostalgia. But
it's just so tempting. Like, I mean, even this is a brand new release from a very big band, and when the pre-order came up, I'm like, do I really need that?
Yes, you do.
Yes, I do.
Are you surprised that Maiden haven't jumped on the cassette?
I am very
would
surprised.
Make a fucking fortune off cassettes.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure it's coming, you guys, where they're going to do a whole line of cassettes, and they're going to go fast. Because
definitely, actually, Darcy, while we're talking about the people's addictions with collecting and their habits, tell everybody what cassette player that you have. What cassette player do you have? Let's start off with how big is your cassette collection?
Just a second.
And then tell us what cassette player that you have.
My cassette player is called the 6 strings fuck all, because I don't have it.
And how many cassettes do you have?
Well, here's the thing. I'm not actively
just a number. You're not a politician. Just a number. That's all I need.
I still have about probably 400 cassettes from back in the day.
Wow.
I've given a few away. Actually, quite a few of them are at Mike's house.
Yeah.
But these kind of souvenir new cassettes, whatever the Saxon or what else have I got here? I actually got there's a sealed copy of Halloween. I'm never opening this. This is, I don't know. One day I'll sell it. I don't know, but it's just pure nostalgia. In my mind, I got myself convinced that, hey, $10, that's nothing. When you know what, it adds up. Okay, put it that way. But pure nostalgia. I'm never opening it. Do I even care if I ever play cassettes again? Probably not. I'm not. I didn't go the route that Mike did, where he actually picked a whole genre. And I was going to ask you, Mike, out of those 250 cassettes you have, how many did you have originally on CD that you sold off?
Not many.
50?
50 or 60.
Yeah.
And there were all the big bands like Twisted Sister, Motley Crue, Def Leppard, Cinderella, stuff like that. But then now I've been able to get like Lillian Axe and Leatherface and Madam X and stuff like that, because Holy Soldier and that, because they're like, 40 quid each on CD.
It's a really good point with the way Darcy is. We set out, it's all about the music, listening to the music, and your kind of collection is built from buying music and you're listening to it. And at what point does it become like for Darcy now, where you buy the format and you don't intend to open it? You've not got a player to listen to it. It's just a piece for your collection.
Yeah.
That's when you've turned into a real collector. I'm not saying like, that's when the collecting becomes something a little bit different.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because like Mike will buy a cassette of something, and if he had it on CD, he'll sell it. He doesn't need the multi-formats.
I actually don't consider myself a collector at all, to be honest. I was going to mention
I'm like so different to that. If I love an album, I will actively try and find it on vinyl, CD, and cassette, and I want all three formats, and I will play all three formats.
Yeah, I mean, for me just now, I mean, I collect CDs and I collect vinyl. I do have cassettes, but I would only pick up cassettes now and again. In the old record shop, Andy will know it, Record Shack, they had like a massive wall of cassettes. And there'd maybe be one or two there that would take my interest. Like, and it's not even, I didn't really buy them even to say, oh, I own this album. It was more like they were £2 each or £2.50 each. So I'd go, I'm not leaving that there. So I'd pick up like Johnny Crash, Neighborhood Threat, or I'd pick up like Kiss, Lick It Up, or Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil. Not with an aim to collect cassettes at all, but I think like you're saying about the whole nostalgia thing, like I was young, but cassettes were still around when I was younger. And just, even just to hold a cassette, it's different from holding a CD or vinyl.
Yeah.
It's weird. But I mean, I've only got, counting just now, maybe 20 cassettes. A mix of old and new. I've bought like the new Hellripper cassettes just to have as kind of collector's pieces and stuff like that. And I have bought cassettes in the past where CDs are extortionate and the vinyl's even worse. So I will then go down the cassette route. But I'm finding now I kind of chop and change, because now that the vinyl prices are rising, I'm aiming more towards CDs now.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at a new release now that's 27 quid on vinyl, and you're like, well, fuck that. I've only heard one song of it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Although you could be still excited for the album, it could be a complete and utter fucking letdown. So that's why I'm kind of opting more now to, and I mean, if it's maybe like 22 quid or under, I'm thinking, right, okay, that kind of justifies buying the vinyl. But anything over that, I'm thinking, no, CD, 12 quid or a 10 even a tenner.
Yeah.
That's sensible, Scott. That's sensible collecting, isn't
Yeah.
it? You know, you kind of know what disposable income you've got and what your budget is. So you work to that, don't you? You know.
Yeah.
I rarely buy albums over 20 quid. I mean, I bought the new Saxon one, and my eyes were watering. I couldn't believe I was spending that much money on it. And who knows, if I waited a year, I'd probably get it at a much better price. But
to be honest, I mean, I bought the new Saxon, but Saxon are like a band that, you know, it would be a fluke if the album was absolutely shite.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, I
kind of go back to 1985.
With Saxon, I kind of thought I'm in good hands here. Like, although it's like 25 quid, I'm in good hands with Saxon because they're pretty consistent. I'm pretty sure I'll enjoy the album, and I did. So I was happy with that. So I bought the vinyl. But for the likes of Halloween, Senjutsu, you know, I'm not going out spending 45 quid on fucking vinyl when I've heard that one fucking Right on the Wall song. Do you know what I mean? I know it's different for you, Andy. It's different for you, Darcy, because you're just like Iron Maiden, give me it now. But for me, if I'd gone out and I'd paid £45 for that Senjutsu, and the first time I'd heard it, I'd go, what the fuck? I mean, don't get me wrong, I really enjoy it now. I really do. I think it's a great album. But on first listen, my heart would have fucking sank if I'd spent 45 quid on that. So you do have to kind of weigh up. Do you know what I mean? So, like you say, you've kind of got to be savvy about what you're doing. I mean, if it's a band you've heard, like it could be like your first or second record, and they've maybe brought out one song or two songs on YouTube, and you're going to pay 27 quid for an album, I think you're mental. Unless you can afford it.
I suppose that's it, isn't it? It's all relevant to how much disposable income you've got, really. Mm-hmm. But is there any of you that's ever bought an album and you've really wanted it that bad, and you've paid more than you feel like you should have paid for it, and because of that, it taints the album a little bit for you? Have you ever bought something and thought, I really want that, and you get carried away and you pay this amount of money, and then you get it and you're like, oh, I've paid a lot for that. I feel like I've paid a bit too much for that.
You know what? I have done that, and it's bothered me that I found ways to either sell something or raise some money that I never had prior to that to offset the cost of something that maybe I just shouldn't have bought. But you know what? I usually can, in my fucked up mind, I can justify anything. Okay. I just make it work no matter what. So
that's the most expensive one I've bought.
I can imagine that was a few pounds.
It was 48.
Yeah. I mean,
you know, to me, that was like, that was right in the middle of my, if it's on earache, I've got to have it.
That's a lot of money for a vinyl in it, but I understand, because I absolutely adore that album. I understand. I think if I saw that out for that price, and I kind of set myself a limit. I'm very similar to Andy. I kind of look £20-25 depending on what it is. So to spend £50, that's double the amount you normally would. That's got to be an album you'll love, hasn't it?
The one thing I was going to say too is getting back to those cassettes. There's some of them are just, I just want that. But I'm going to tell you, there's a select few bands, and I know Andy is very good at supporting local and buying extra things. Like, let's take Hell Ripper, for example. I will buy everything that he's putting out for a certain album to support him. Also, there's just bands that I love that much, and if he has a cassette, a CD, a T-shirt, and one on vinyl, I will buy it all. But that is not like, I mean, you're talking maybe 5 bands in my whole collection that I would, go that extra step for. I mean, does Iron Maiden need me to buy everything? No, but I probably will. But there's some bands I do it for different reasons, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and that sort of point there with Mike. Now, he's paid like say £50 for one album. I'm sure any of us at any point could quite easily put 3 albums in our Amazon basket and spend £50 on 3 albums.
Yeah.
You know, so does that feel different to you if you're just paying for one album that you really want, or 3 albums that you may be taking a chance on one, and there's 2 that you think are going to be all right, but you're still paying £50. You know,
to me, if I see something that I want and I don't buy it, it just bugs me that I didn't buy it. And then I look at things and think, and then you tend to find, like in the past, I've had like a knee-jerk reaction to missing out on an auction or something, and I've not been able to successfully win something on eBay, and I've went and I've bought a couple of other things with the money I would have spent on that, because I feel like I just want to come home with something, or if I've been to a record shop, I just want to come home with something, just to remember the day by, or some other portion. And I stopped thinking like that, and because, you know, ultimately I've ended up having to sell a lot because I can't get behind owning an album I don't like, quite honestly. In the majority of cases, there will be a small percentage of what I own that I don't actually like, but there'll be reasons why I own it. Like, for instance, let me just get these out.
Mike's got to be one of the most organised and what's the word I'm looking for?
Picky.
Controlled.
Right.
Yeah,
I like that album, right? And I love that album. I couldn't give 2 fucks about those 2 albums. But there's no way, now that Barnes owns the rights to the logo, that I would ever leave an original press Cannibal Corpse album anywhere. I just wouldn't do it, because it's just stupid. Because, to be honest, it's just fucking money in the bank. And even though half of these albums I don't like, I'm far happier owning them and spending the money on them than I would be just owning these first and fourth ones and leaving them. They would not sit well on my shelf. It would play on my mind. It doesn't matter that I don't like these other 2. That's in my head. That's the deck now. I don't bother with Corpse Grinder. Just have the 4 Barnes either. That's it. You know. And if I ever need to sell them, they're selling all day for more than what I paid for them.
That's different. That's an investment, isn't it? That's not just buying stuff and hoarding it.
Yeah.
That's knowing that there's some value in it. I mean, I've just looked up on my my music database thing for the most money I've spent. I couldn't think of it. I thought it was more. Most money I've spent on a second-hand vinyl record. I've spent more on box sets and new vinyl, but it's this one, right? Into Glory Ride, Man of War. Mainly because it was Music for Nations, and when I was mad on, I had to get everything Music for Nations. Guess how much this cost me?
30 quid.
25 quid is the most I've spent on second-hand vinyl.
Wow.
I thought it was more.
Shit.
What can I say? I'm going to say, because I usually am pretty strict when it comes to, I mean, I'm strict when it comes to what I spend on a individual item. I have no control of my budget when it comes on to the number of items I buy. But when it comes down to individual items, I just cannot.
That's exactly it. That's what I was saying before. Like, why do we think like that? If you've got a budget of £100, say, you know, and you're like, I'm going to buy 10 albums, going to get myself 15 CDs with that. But if there is a CD that's £100 and you really want it, it's a big piece for your collection. Why is it, in my head, and I'm sure you're the same, why is it you can't quantify it the same? You're like, well, I'm getting 15 for 100 quid. I'm only getting 1 for 100. But those 15 might just be okay pieces for your collection. Mm-hmm. They're not that one album that you think, fuck me, I need that, you know.
I think that's where ultimately everyone will end up in time. It just takes people longer than others.
You think, yeah?
As you get older and as things don't matter, and you sort of, I mean, when I started back buying music again, I don't like to say collecting, because I don't feel like I feel like there's a difference between me and a collector. Like, so Darcy's just bought all the formats of the new Saxon album and stuff. I wouldn't. I understand him doing that. I understand why people do that, but I don't need to do that. For me, I just need to have bought the album if I'm going to buy it, and that's it. And it needs to fit in with what I've sort of sectioned off as different things. Now, I sectioned off the glam metal stuff on cassette. I'm in the process of sectioning off the death metal onto vinyl, so that all my death metal, hopefully at some point, will just all be on vinyl. And as soon as I pick up something that I've got on CD, the CD will have to be sold.
That's really so controlled, Mike. And I do really quite admire you in a way, because we've had these conversations before, haven't we? I kind of know this about you in the way you collect, and I think to myself, I get that. I get why he's like that. And I think to myself, I'm going to try and implement a little bit of that into mine. And I'll go and look at my wall of CDs for about 5 minutes and just think, where do I even start? Do you know? Where do I even start to quantify and rationalise why? Actually, I've got 3 copies of that CD there, and they're all the same press. Why have I got that? Well, I'll tell you why. Because when I was out and about, I saw it in a shop for £2, and I knew I had it twice, but I had to buy it because it was £2.
But for me, the first thing I would do I mean, all them CDs that I bought a couple of years ago off that guy, I bought like 400 CDs, if you remember. I didn't keep doing fucking update after update. I paid £2 each for all of them. Yeah. Every one £2. I sold some of them for 40.
Oh, Simon wins then.
I sold some of them for 40 and 50 quid. I will never ever be able to buy an item for £2 and it be able to be sold for 50 quid and me not do that. I just couldn't do it. I don't have, and I never have had that enormous amount of wealth that I can just sit on something that I'm not really asked about that's worth 50 quid and go, fuck it. Yeah.
But you bought those to sell, didn't you? You didn't buy those. I wanted to have your collection was going to get bigger. You saw the pound signs in your eyes and thought, I'm having them.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's a wholly different thing than pulling things in just because you want them in your collection. I mean, there are very few bands that I will collect everything on vinyl and CD. Maine's one of them. Hellripper's become one of them. So vinyl, CD, and tape. But until recently, a lot like my stigma with reissues, I couldn't sell anything. So I had a lot of duplicates on CD and vinyl because I bought the CD because I couldn't get the vinyl. Then I got the vinyl. And last year I went on a purge. I must have got on eBay sold best part of 80 odd CDs that I had that I didn't need CD and vinyl copies. It's a good album, whatever, but it's not a band that I'm that passionate about. I need everything because I was running out of space for CDs. All my CDs I keep in boxes because I have no room for shelves. I rip everything anyway, so I tend to play the digital versions of them. But I freed up money. In some cases, I didn't necessarily make a profit on the CD I bought because it wasn't, either it's not a rare CD or anything, but it made money for other things to bring in. And once I got over that stigma of, as long as I've got a copy, I'm fine with it. In a lot of cases, I'd rather have the vinyl copy. But some bands I just collect on CD because I know I'm not going to get them all on vinyl. Gamma Ray, for one. I could get a whole Gamma Ray collection, and I collected all in about 18 months. And I have no Gamma Ray on vinyl. And I'm not interested in that at all because I have everything on CD. All the compilation albums, just about everything they've done on CD because it was all accessible and affordable. And I've got that full collection. I've got it in a special box. I look at that and go, that's my Gamma Ray collection. I'm as proud of that Gamma Ray collection as I am of, say, a collection that I've got of albums on vinyl. But I wouldn't have one on vinyl at all.
No.
Whereas Saxon, I have nothing, no studio albums of Saxon at all. I have it all on vinyl.
No, I'm the same way. I mean, for example, Sabotage, all reissues. They're going to reissue every album on vinyl. I never thought in a million years that I would own all their stuff on vinyl, but they're one of those bands. It's like, do I really need to keep the CDs? So I've committed to myself that I will sell all the CDs as soon as I get all the vinyl, and I'm okay with that. Some bands I don't need everything on, and I was gonna say too, like Mark said, I actually really admire that Mike can do that too. You know, not be. He's content with just the CD, or you know, when the new Scorpions album comes out, he'll just pick up the regular CD. He's happy. But there's people out there that will need every different color of it, and I'm not saying the Scorpions would be my choice personally for that, but there's bands out there that I just feel like, and then we all have that feeling of anxiety where it's like, oh man, I should have bought that. Oh, I know I'm gonna regret this. I don't want to pay more down the line. I mean, all those thoughts are running through your head all the time. I mean,
fear of missing out.
Like
I have a constant battle.
FOMO.
I have a constant battle with packaging. That's probably the biggest sort of bugbear I have about buying music is the packaging, because I don't think these people who manufacture them and the record companies and that they don't seem to have anyone in their employ who is like a fucking nerd like me or us or people watching us, because they're happy to, like, I've got these Rage album reissues, which for a start it pisses me off. It's the shitty 90s logo rather than and they're all 80s albums, so that doesn't sit well with me. But what's even worse is on the spines, it says that Rage and the name of the album cover all going down on the first three, and on the fourth it's going fucking up, and I'm like, oh, what are you doing?
Oh, see, that's fucking annoying.
Why?
I would find that annoying.
I think to myself, there isn't anyone working in this industry that hang on a minute, you need to look at because they've got to realise in this industry they are dealing with people that there's a massive potential for them to be upset by. They want consistency on shelves for display purposes. Otherwise, you know, they're trying to sell stuff to nerds, but with a Spotify mentality.
Yeah, but it's funny, isn't it? Because as a collector, I'm not. I've got like some of the Judas Priest CDs with the logo that's on the spine, but I've got like Screaming for Vengeance and another one that are the original presses. So they break that logo up. But that doesn't bother me.
That's good.
You know, and I know for a fact that would drive Mike mentally. I'd have to cover it up.
Separate. I would keep the different presses actually separate. I'd have those two copies on the
So here we go. I've thought about that, and I've thought I should take it out and buy the other one, but I can't remove it because chronologically it's in the right order.
Yeah, I get that. And what I would end up doing,
and it has to be. It has to be there.
I'd either sell those two and buy the other, or I would end up getting both sets. But and I'm doing that with Maiden. I've got a couple of OG CDs, and I've got all the 98 reissues or whatever. And now I finished that Eddie picture, and I was like, yes, I finished it. Big life achievement, fantastic. I looked and thought, I've only got 2 OGs. I'm going to need to get all of those now.
Yeah.
It's never ending. Let alone the 2015 ones.
It's weird because I'm very funny about everything's got to be in alphabetical and chronological and everything, but it doesn't bother me about whether it's an OG press followed by a reissue and then another OG press. I'm not bothered about that. It doesn't have to match up. I don't know why that is, because I do understand why it would bug someone, you know, but it just doesn't with me. I don't know why it is. I don't know.
I got a couple bands like that, but I remember, true story, I did a ranking on the AC/DC albums, and Mike, he doesn't say good video, nothing. He goes, why the fuck do you have 3 digipacks in with those other ones? That's what what are you doing? Like, how can you sleep at night?
Yeah.
Actually, Mike, sorry, technical question here. This is you. Have you got anything different with your phone setup? Because it sounds like your stomach's rumbling really badly.
Really?
Can anyone else hear it?
Yeah,
I can hear it. Yeah, but
Tell you what, I'm gonna put you on mute and we'll prove it. It's all quiet now.
Oh, Mike,
Yeah.
you dirty,
Oh, it's so quiet in
dirty
here.
bastard.
I honestly thought it was my belly rumbling. I just didn't want to say anything.
I can't hear anything, to be honest.
I know it sounds like you're under, like somebody's underwater.
Do you want to knock me off and fetch me back in or something?
Yeah, well, we don't know if we'll fetch you back in.
You-
but we'll knock you off.
You trust me to bring you back.
Oh, that's fucking wanker. Right, yeah, just remove
Go on,
me.
hit the big red button, Andy.
Bush. There we go. Bish bash bosh.
Oh, that's so much
Oh, that's
quieter.
far
Oh,
Yeah.
I tell you what, if it's not me clicking, it's Mike underwater, isn't it? We do
No.
have some problems there. I don't know what's going on.
sounded like he was rubbing one out.
If that, Darcy,
It will
if
not-
that's what it
I
sounds
wouldn't
like
be
when you're doing
surprised.
it, you're doing
It-
something wrong.
It wouldn't have lasted for an hour and 15 minutes, that's for
No,
sure.
definitely not.
But that's another thing as well, like we're talking about. I've recently picked up a few of the Creator, the sort of digibook reissues of their original albums, and I've got no intention of selling
Like,
my other copies.
these
Yeah.
hard ones.
Yeah. I've got no intention of selling those. So when I'm looking at my collection, it's got Terrible Certainty OG press and a Terrible Certainty digibook, followed by Extreme Aggression OG and Extreme. You know, I'm happy with that. I can live with that, and I don't need both of them, but I like to have both of them. You know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I
Well,
suppose that's another thing we're collecting, isn't it? Do you need to have them, or do you just like having them? You know,
It's definitely just liking them. I mean, I've got.
It's need.
Well, it's definitely need, because I mean, I've got Multi-Cruise Shout at the Devil. I've got it on cassette. I've had it on CD twice, and I've got 5 different versions on vinyl. So I mean, do I need 7 to 8 copies of one album? No. But do I want to buy it? Yes.
Yeah. Are they all different? Are they all different vinyl? Are they different variants, different presses?
So I've got 2. So the vinyl, I've got 2 that are a gatefold, 2 that are just a single sleeved vinyl, and 1 is. Oh no, shit! I've got another one as well. I've got the repress that came in the box set, and I've also got a coloured variant, which is like a light red.
Oh, okay.
So I've got 6 vinyl copies.
So Pieface said it there. Maybe want is the right word, isn't it?
Oh,
you don't need them. You don't have something. You just want them. You know.
I have. I did a video on my Iron Maiden debut album collection once because I realized I had about 7 or 8 copies. Since I've done that video, I've picked up at least 2 other CD variants. It's just one of those albums that when I see, I pick up, and it's kind of become a thing, really, more than a need or a want. And I certainly wouldn't pay over the odds for them.
You know, I know we're going to talk about this more as we go to, but ultimately, your collection is what makes you happy. You know, it's what makes you happy. I don't have to deal with your collection. I love watching what you guys show, but do I really, care what you have in a way? No, it's your collection. So, I was thinking there's no time in my personal collecting, in the past 4 or 5 years, let's say, where I've put something off that needed to be done in real life. Okay, we need to paint this bedroom, or I always put my real life purchases before my vinyl, CD, cassette needs. I don't jeopardize my family or anything like that. It's all in perspective, but ultimately what I buy and what I have only has to make me happy, not anyone else. And I think you guys feel the same way. And how we handle, like we said, Mike has a very controlled system and it works for him, and kudos to him.
It's always evolving. When I started buying stuff back in 2016, I had this, like, I was going off memory and what albums I used to like and stuff like that, and I would start buying them, and I ended up buying stuff really that I didn't really want again. I thought I did, and I didn't want it again. And to be honest, all that I've done is evolve. I feel like every year it's evolving. I'm getting a little bit closer to what I actually want every year. You know, I'm still a long way off what I want and how I want it, but that's always what I'm aiming for. But fortunately, I don't have the sort of regret. Some people, they can't bring themselves to sell something because of the regret part with it, and they think, oh no, you know. And I've never had that, you know. The only things I've sold in my past that I regret selling was video games, because fucking Nintendo is just a license to print money. And when I look at some stuff that I've had over the years, it's worth hundreds of pounds now, and I let it go for 50 or 60 quid, thinking, you know, fucking superb. I've just got 60 quid for a sealed copy of Fire Emblem on the GameCube, and now you'd be hard pushed to get it for under fucking 200 quid or something. Yeah,
but you don't know that at the time, do you? At that time, that is the premium price, and it's, you know, and who knows, it may have crashed after that. You never know. This triggered me, this comment here about don't mind giving away stuff, but it's hard when they are slightly identical. Because one of my favorite albums, Spread the Disease.
Is it?
Well, what's that about? I haven't heard of them.
They're all the same pressing in terms of the record itself, and the only differences are that one has a barcode, so that one doesn't, but it has a little island thing at the bottom, and this one has no barcode and no island sign at the bottom. And I thought, I don't really need these three, but I wouldn't be able to decide which one to get rid of.
They're different, yeah, so you can't. I've got CDs, got like the Deicide Legion album, and it's on Road Racer, and I've got it, the UK press and the American press. So the back of it, they're exactly the same, except for one of them has got all the European licenses on it, and the other one hasn't. You know, but because of that, I can't get rid of one or the other, because they're slightly different. You know.
Yeah. What about the pre-orders?
That's where it becomes a problem, I suppose, isn't it? That
you're always big on the pre-orders, aren't you, Darcy? You pre-order everything. What's the sort of thing behind that?
Generally, most of the pre-orders that I will do, because I'm in I am in a remote area, and I always tell you when I'm going to the big city, it's 2 hours away. So there's not it's a lot of online, a lot of Amazon, but I always want to get the best price. And with Amazon, the other draw for me, guys, is I really like the idea that Amazon only charges you when they send out the product. I don't like paying up front. I don't know who I talked to. I think it was Andy. I said, the 3 Grim Reaper albums are coming out on vinyl through Napalm Records, and they're getting released. The pre-order's up for July already, and this was 2 months ago. I'm like, who can afford to tie up 100 or 80 quid for 7 months? I mean, not that you're going to make that much money in the bank on interest, I'll tell you, but I have a tough time with that. But I really like Amazon's policy of not charging you until the product's sent out. Yeah. And if you're not happy with that price on a pre-order, you could back out the day before it gets released. Just cancel your order. You didn't lose anything. And there's been several times where it's a lot lower. Let's say it's I got, what did I get? Those Raven albums went down to an unheard of $22 Canadian, which is, what is that, like 12 quid, 11 quid?
We've compared a few times when you've told me you've got stuff pre-ordered on Amazon CDN, and I've looked at Amazon UK, and your price is like getting off for £10 cheaper.
I just got this for you for $25 Canadian. Nuclear assault, handle with care. You already know you're getting it, but
yeah. So I mean, just Mark and Scott you've left out there.
Do you know he has an original? Yeah. I already asked him.
Yeah.
But anyways, 4 days later, it's $40. You know, it's up $15. So that's kind of the strategy behind the pre-orders.
I didn't actually realize that's how it worked, to be honest.
You don't get
because
charged.
I've only ever pre-ordered off E-Rake, and you do pay the day as soon as you buy it. You know, as soon as you pre-order.
I was about to say actually though, on the sort of flip side of that, especially for some of the record labels and the bands that I listen to, and the very underground and very small labels, and I think they do to a certain degree rely on the money. They'll say, right, we're going to press 100 copies of this, and I think they do rely a little bit on that money coming in.
Oh yeah, 100%.
to help them print those off. They kind of tell you know what you're going to get. You know, but the vinyl variant might be slightly different. But I think with smaller labels and bands, they do rely on that a bit. But you're not talking of a lot of money when they're doing these prints. Like for example, Coffin Mulch, £12. You know, that's what to buy a brand new vinyl. It's £12 plus the postage. So. You know, you've not got a lot of money tied up there, have you, really? But you're king of the pre-orders, Darcy.
You know, the other thing is, like the other day I was thinking that I actually get anxiety sometimes. I don't have an anxiety problem, but let's say that new creator comes out with 7 different variants, CD, cassette, box set. It's like, what the fuck? Where do I even start? You know, where's the limit? Where is the limit? What do I really need? What do I want? And honestly, you guys, it's just trying to find that balance with, and I'm not saying that's with every band. Because I always say I have CD only bands that will never make it to vinyl. And I don't say that in a bad way as a shot to a CD, because I have tons of CDs. But I'm like, and maybe it goes back to Andy talking a little bit about like gamma ray. If you were ever going to collect gamma ray on vinyl, I mean, you are in for one hell of a battle, unless they all got reissued or something, right? Like even for the Sabotage. So yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I get worked up, like I'm going to miss out on something. It's like, I got to do this now. I can't focus on real life if I,
Yeah.
But that's the collector. We all have those feelings sometimes.
And it all comes down to as well, like, again, it's affordability. If you can afford to buy the cassette, the CD, the vinyl, and the vinyl box set, fucking do it. If that's what you want, I would just say do it. You only live once.
What sickened me was when I went to Germany. I went to Hamburg a few years ago, and I bought if you remember, the first thing I showed on my channel was the Anthrax For All Kings box set, like vinyl box set with whatever. I bought that one and Slayer's Repentless box set as well, vinyl box set. And I'd never seen them. Back in the day, that shit didn't exist, that type of packaging and all the different things that came with it. And I went to Hamburg, and in the centre of Hamburg, you've got this giant fucking shop, called Staten. It's like five levels, and one of the levels is just all music, records, CDs, whatever. And I went in there and I seen those fucking box sets, and there was rows and rows and rows of them, and I just thought, oh shit, I've absolutely fell for that whole limited edition bullshit. They don't have to. In a lot of cases, they don't even tell you what that limited run is. If they give you a figure, I understand that. But Anthrax and Slayer didn't give you a figure, and fucking hell, in that shop in Germany, there was fucking dozens and dozens, and I thought, that's just one shop. I don't know how many Saturns there is in Germany, but that's just one shop. And my heart just sank, and I thought, what? Oh, I felt like I'd been had when I seen that amount, and it really fucking was a bitter taste in my mouth.
Well, it's like nowadays, and you see these limited edition black vinyl.
I was literally just about to say that. I was like, how's it fucking limited edition? I was like, how fucking limited can a black vinyl be?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, even if you look at the colour variants now, they're all getting pressed in the thousands now.
Standard red vinyl as it is now. Standard red vinyl, limited black.
And as the months progress, as the years progress, maybe the next few years, like Darcy said before, everything's just going to get absolutely, everything's going to come out.
Yeah.
Because we've now kind of hit this massive peak where, everyone's getting a record player. Everyone's wanting to collect vinyl. So, I mean, that's just like music to their ears, basically. That's like, they're all just going to go, right, we'll pump out this album. It's getting 6 different colour variants. Do you know what I mean? And fair enough, because if you are like a head of a production company, well, that's your job.
Yeah.
You're making money for the production company or the distribution or whatever. So, yeah, everything's going to come out in the droves in the next few years.
Yeah.
So, and I've always been quite a patient buyer anyway, but I wouldn't now be as sucked in to buying a strictly limited colour variant, because I used to do that. I used to see colour variants coming out and go, oh, I'm going to get that. That's the variant I want. And it's like 4 years down the line, and they're still for sale.
Yeah, it's when it's strictly limited colour, but there's 9 colours, and altogether the album's not strictly limited at all.
Yeah,
yeah.
But you know what?
Pieface said it in the comment there. It's that fear of missing out.
Yeah.
They give that. They put that in your head. You could. It's limited edition. You could miss out. Fucking hell! I've got to go and buy it now. Then
that's good marketing, though.
Absolutely.
It's us that fall for it.
Well, it's coming. For example, Motley Crue and ZZ Top sold the rights to their entire catalogs to BMG, which BMG is what is it? Bertelsmann something. Anyways, they're massive. BMG does all the noise reissues and stuff like that. So as far as Motley Crue, I would say in the next 6 months, you are going to see so much Motley Crue shit. You won't even, there is going to be variants and ZZ Top. I'm not a massive ZZ Top fan, but I do like some of their stuff, but it's all getting reissued. There's going to be multiple variants of vinyl. It's all coming. And
I'll take Shout at the Devil.
And, these bands, I believe they're making actually a good business move by, I don't know what Motley Crue got, 25 million or whatever for the rights to their catalog. And I'm sure we'll touch on this too. Our age and their age has everything to do with their business, their decisions. And there's going to become an age where I'm going to have to make certain decisions too. But it just goes, all these reissues, they're coming. Just wait, but they're going to get Scott big time on this Motley Crue stuff, because he's going to have about 10 more copies of every one of them.
And I'll buy them.
And what about the completist mentality then? What do you think about that? Because there's very few catalogs I've got full complete collections of. As far as just the main studio albums, I mean, I've got probably nobody's everything they've brought out, but as for studio albums, what is it that drives you? Because I've often asked myself this. I have all the sort of, let's say, Metallica. I've got all the Metallica albums. Why? I don't know, because half of them I am never, ever playing. I'm just not doing it.
Yeah.
And I tried to sell them about 12 months ago, actually, all the ones I didn't want. And they went fucking looping every fortnight on eBay, and no one bought them.
Yeah.
So that's why I've still got them. But I shouldn't have bought them in the first place, because I knew I didn't want them. Yeah. You know what I mean? Why do we buy? Why does anyone buy a complete set of something? What do you get out of it when you see a complete set of something on the shelf?
You get a Darcy ranking video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's one thing. That's one thing for me.
Hey.
If I'm, I know Darcy's the same. If I'm going to do a ranking video, I like to own all the albums I'm going to be talking about. It's just some people might find that weird, but I think it's you own it, you've listened to it. I think if you own it, you listen to it, I don't know, better because you've got it in your possession.
Yeah.
So that's one thing.
Yeah.
Another thing is if say a band's got 10 albums and 8 of them are great, 2 of them are shit, I'm going to buy those 2 shit albums because you're only 2 albums away from a full discography. I don't know what it is. It's you can't not get them at that point.
This is the dark side of collecting.
I agree.
This is the question. Why going in those 2 albums are shit? Why are you wanting them? Forget the ranking video aside, or if you do the ranking video, why do you not then sell those 2 shit albums?
Because I like to have them.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you. I'll give you one example, and this is maybe it's a rare example or not, but I've been listening to tons of Creator lately, and albums that I thought were complete shit they're growing on me over time. And the thing is, Creator is, in the scheme of things, a fairly new band to me. They're not from my childhood. They're not from my teenage years. But, an album like Outcast or even Endorama, I know everybody hates it, but it's good for what it is. So sometimes I'm just saying I will hang on to things because is there a chance I'm going to like this? And when it comes to ranking videos, I am not doing a ranking video unless I can hold it up. You are not going to see me post a little fucking picture behind me. Anyone can do that, and nothing against the guys that do that, but it's not me. I want to invest the time into those albums and give them proper, not just listen to them on Spotify for skip through it on Spotify and come to a conclusion. I want to give it the time, but as far as owning everything for certain bands, I definitely am a completist, and I don't know, I probably won't change.
Yeah, for me, it's certain bands, Maiden, Saxon, even some of the newer bands, some of the new British metal bands I'm following, like Toledo Steel and
Running Wild
Sisters. I'm all about getting all their stuff. Hellripper,
Running Wild,
even Raven. I have that horrendous Atlantic first release, but Girl School did a similar thing, and I kind of love Girl School, but I don't have the one album that they went to the States and they just basically did a pop album. And I just can't have it. It's just horrendous. So some bands I'll get everything with no matter what. Other bands I can miss one if I think the album's not good, because it's just I haven't got that connection with the band. So it's not all or nothing for me. It's specifically all or nothing. Depends on the band, really.
Yeah. I'm not a
Yeah.
completist of it whatsoever, but there are certain bands that I do love that much that I would put up with the odd dodgy album in my collection just because I love that band, and I kind of feel like, well, I love that band that much. I want that. I want to support them. That's why Enchantment only made one album.
To make it easier for people to be a completist.
Absolutely right, yeah. We're thinking about the collector. But it's yeah, I'm not a completist. Like I say, with like Forbidden, I know some of like Forbidden's later albums, they're nothing like the first two albums, and they're not essential, but I do like having them, and I do like to listen to them occasionally. And really, the moral of the story is, Mike, is you need to listen to that Morbid Angel CD a few more times.
Uh-huh.
What that what the fucking hell? I don't know.
Now that's weird. Someone mentioned St. Anger. I've only ever listened to St. Anger about 2 or 3 times. I haven't played it since the year it came out. I've still got it in my collection for some reason. I'm never gonna listen to it, but I've still got it there. I haven't got Load or Reload, but I've got St. Anger.
I don't have those 3. Actually, what struck me from the completest thing is almost looking at it from the opposite angle, and specifically for modern thrash with me and modern thrash bands. Sometimes I will pick up an album or pick up on. I mean, you showed that Mark, that Amorphia album recently, Indian thrash metal band, and I had a listen. I thought, that's fantastic. I have to get that one. Then I looked and saw they had maybe a couple of albums, what have you. But certainly with modern thrash bands, if I've never heard of them before, I'll pick up one album. If I love it, I'm kind of a bit scared to pick up something else, because modern thrash bands, they've got nowhere to go. Old thrash bands evolved and moved on, but new thrash bands can't do that because they're a thrash band and that's what they do, and they're sticking to the formula. And what I find is a lot of bands sound, they do one release, I think it's great, and then you listen to another one, you think, well, that's kind of like the same album I just listened to, and they have their thing and they go for it. So with a lot of modern thrash bands, Havoc are a little bit different. I find them they have a little bit of variance, but it's still, it's Havoc. But I love that Amorphia album. I bought it, but I've got no interest at all in picking up anything else by them because I don't want to spoil my enjoyment of that album. I did it with an Italian thrash band called Game Over. I bought one of their albums, loved it. I thought, right, I've got to get their other stuff. And I bought their other stuff. And I just thought, it's actually not that different. It didn't wow me anymore because it was the same, and they can't evolve. And a lot of the new wave of British traditional heavy metal bands are the same. They've got nowhere to go because they're constrained by the fact that they like that music so much.
Yeah.
They're not going to evolve into the keyboards and the thrash or the whatever down the line because that's been done before.
It brings up another thought that I've had is, where do you draw the line also is like, how many new thrash bands do you really need in your collection? And where do you personally draw the line? Because I think Mike and I have talked about, in the next 5 to 7 years for sure, a lot of the bands that we love, the Saxon, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden. I mean, Iron Maiden, they're always going to be putting something out, even into their 80s. Somebody's going to look after it. They're a marketing machine. But a lot of our childhood favorite bands they're going to be going away. What are we going to replace that with? Are we just going to kind of settle down and just be happy at some point with what we have in our collections? Or I never shut the door on new bands. I always want to, I get recommendations all the time, and I do have a book that I write everything down. And if somebody's going to take the time to comment and tell me about something, I'm going to give them the courtesy of at least checking out a couple songs, right? You never know, right? But it's like, I don't know, you guys, I guess I'm asking you guys, where do you guys draw the line on collecting and entertaining the thought of new bands? Or does it have to be something super special to make your collection?
I have to be proud.
I think what we will be missing, it's not entirely about the music. It's about the persona of that band. So what we're missing now
12.
What we're missing now are like modern day rock stars.
Yeah.
So back in 1988, you had the Maidens, the Judas Priests, the Motley Crues, everyone, like all these massive bands were these rock stars who are just like, above and beyond what you could even think your life could be. You don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't have these up and coming metal bands that are, just taking the world by storm, because none of these bands do that anymore.
Is that we don't, because we're mostly, we've kind of done that. We've been here, but would like teenagers getting into it now if they are picking up on some of the newer bands, which, I mean, when I talk about newer bands, I'm talking about newer bands playing the old school type of music. I'm not talking about newer bands playing new variants of rock and metal. But I wouldn't know whether some of these guys are considered superstars, because I don't know who they are.
Well,
yeah,
Scott,
good point.
The one thing is, I personally, I don't know how you guys feel, I'm still starstruck by, I actually message James from Hell Ripper, quite a bit. Once a month I talk to him, and he literally answers me back, and I'm still, I know he's just a normal guy doing a great job.
Darcy, just to interrupt you there. If James answers back, James is not in the office at the moment. That's not really him,
Yeah.
But the other day I was over watching a video from the Metal Voice, and Todd LaTorre gets on there, and I had mentioned that I had put his album at #1, and he said he's going to send me a t-shirt. I was just like, holy fuck. I told my wife, and she's like, oh, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, just like, well, whatever, whoever he is, But I am still, at 53 years old, I still feel there is rock stars out there. I know what you mean, Scott, but back in, I think I met Lemmy back at an airport in 1999. But even back there, the person I was with, they're like, oh, who the fuck is that? I'm like, what do you mean, who the fuck is that? That's Lemmy. Well, who's he? It's just like, so anyways, the moral of this story is I am still blown away by, even if James from Hell Ripper answers me back, I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
Even if it's stop calling me Darcy.
Yeah.
Even if it's a Metal Mickey answering me back, it's important.
I think camera phones has made people in bands hold back a bit. They don't want to be wild and stupid, because it'll be put out on social media, and any mistakes and things like that will be held up, and they'll be judged. Every fucker wants to sort of judge everyone now, and not just say, oh, well, so fuck, it was rock and roll, it was heavy metal or whatever. They want to drill down into the, should you really be doing that, and all this shit. So everything's sort of tamer than it used to be, isn't it?
It's more controlled, because social media has just fucking like ruined that whole
excitement
life for people. Because I mean, back in the 80s, you've just got these people who are like almost like gods to people. They're just like, these guys are just fucking gods. But now, there's fucking thing, man. You know what I mean? It's just a bit kind of, it kind of all falls a bit flat for me now, I think.
Getting back to Darcy, though, meeting Lemmy, it took Lemmy to actually leave the country to get away from Darcy. Was it an airport?
And he snagged him at the airport.
Yeah, it was an airport in Vancouver.
You're not going anywhere.
What we're talking about.
I saw Motorhead actually a few years before Lemmy died, and they were brilliant. Yeah, there's that. You see bands on stage. Some of the bands I go and see at like the Star and Garter in Manchester, and it's great. And you talk to them and all that, and it's great that you can interact and that. But there's something different when you saw Lemmy and Mickey D and that up on the stage. It was like it was another level of person. Like, fucking hell. Lemmy's like, I can see the whites of Lemmy's eyes,
Yeah. Well, that's actually how it started. I was in a Vancouver airport 1999, and I see this long blonde hair and kind of turned sideways, and it was like Motorhead with the Motorhead battle vest, and it was actually Mickey D. And I walked up and I said, he must have thought I was an asshole because I said, "Hey, where's Lemmy? Not glad to meet you." I was like, "Oh, you're the drummer from King Diamond." I should have said something, but I'm like, "Where's Lemmy?" And Mickey D goes, "Oh, he's getting a paper."
He's used to it.
I started walking down, and here comes Phil and Lemmy. And the first thing I remember thinking right away is, man, he is not as tall as I ever thought he was. That's the first thing I thought.
Wow.
And then we walked up and shook hands, and he's very nice. But I was just like, those are moments like the rock star moment that you'll never forget in your life. And
you must have known he's not that tall because he's always played with his microphone. He's never been able to reach his microphone.
Yeah.
He can't be that tall.
Good call there, Andy.
Yeah. One thing I was going to ask you guys about, and this is something I thought of today around collecting when I was thinking about my collection and foibles with it, and how we used to collect stuff. We keep saying back in the day, but most of us are old farts. I'm being kind to you there, Scott. And we'd buy stuff, you'd buy it to play it, you stick it on the shelf. But these days, the additional expense of collecting inner sleeves, outer sleeves, storage solutions, cleaning solutions, none of this mattered when I first started picking albums. And I didn't listen to my album going, there's an additional bit of crackle here. I need to get my anti-static gun out, shoot the fucker, and then hopefully it's going to play better. No, I don't have an anti-static gun, but I kind of want one now because
yeah.
But I have all my things sleeved. I never did before. I have inner sleeves in my inner sleeves because I'm protecting the things that the manufacturers aren't protecting on my behalf. How did that all come about? And have you guys been sucked into that as well?
Yeah, of course.
Is it the scenario the same as when you bought a Star Wars figure back in the day? You ripped it out of its packet. Whereas now, if you bought a Star Wars figure, you'd leave it in its packet thinking,
I don't get that.
Do you know? Do we put them? Is it at the polyline sleeve for your vinyl to go in? That makes perfect sense because you know that you're going to be able to get the vinyl out. There's no static build up. You've not got the rough paper scratching it. An outer sleeve, does an outer sleeve just a soft poly bag? Does that really sort of protect it? If you drop it on the floor, it's not going to stop the corner getting bent, is it?
Mark, I got to ask you this because I've been meaning to ask you this forever. Are every one of your CDs, even in jewel case, are they all in bags?
Yeah.
See, I personally don't understand that. I only have digipacks in those bags, but I was always meaning to ask you that. So every one of your 6,000 CDs are in bags?
Every single one of them is in a little bag, yeah.
Wow.
It is.
See, I see that's different for me because I see the jewel case as the protector.
Me too, yeah. I do too.
Yeah, there's something in my head that says if there's some kind of fire or some kind of flood or something,
a plastic wrap's going to fucking save it.
Yeah. That
anti-fire. I'd rather
it's going to melt to your CD.
It's not good. It can't get smoke damaged. In my head, that's like the reason why I do it.
Smoke damage.
Okay.
It's not going to get damaged by smoke. If the place is smoking that bad, I've got. Now this has raised another good point, and they talked about this on Marty's channel last night about. We all know how much our collections mean to us. If something happened in your home and a fire burst out, obviously, the family's gonna come out first. There's no doubt about that. That's who you're going for.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
My vinyl, our family.
I live on my own, so that's all cool. But they talked about having like a fire rack or a firebox or having their collection in something so that if you needed to get out of that house sharpish, you could grab it and it's going with you, no messing. Is that something you boys have thought of? Is putting your prized? I'm not talking monetary. I'm talking about the albums that mean the most to you on a personal level.
It'd be frowned upon if I grabbed the vinyl before the children.
Yes, but you know they've got 2 hands each.
Oh, more vinyl.
Yeah.
Grab them too.
You can have them under one. You've got the kids under one arm. They can.
I like it.
A box each. You can have 2 fire boxes.
I'm adding more to my fire safety list as we speak.
Is that a genuine concern? I have thought about it. I've thought about it, and I've thought, you know, if I needed, grab my guitar, it's in a case, I can get that out quick. But I've never acted upon it. I've never thought about putting certain albums in a box that I can remove out of my house.
I've never thought of the box thing, but I have thought about insuring my collection.
I've thought about that now.
Yeah,
because you kind of get to a point where you're thinking, if this went up in flames, and you know that would be kind of seen as like an extra. It probably wouldn't come under your home insurance.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to get to a stage where it all goes on fire, and they go, "Oh, sorry, we can't pay out for that because it's like a specialist kind of item."
It is. I've looked into it. It's quite expensive, you know.
Yeah, even here in Canada, it would cost me over and above. It'd be over and above my home insurance. It would cost me at least $1,200 a year for extra insurance.
Wow.
Yeah, I did look into it, and it was something like £65 a month.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, you times that by 10 years. I mean,
that's a lot of records.
Sorry, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Well, similar. Part of that conversation that was on Marty and Alan's stream last night as well was somebody asked if that happened and you were paid out.
Yeah.
Right. Would you have it in you again to start again collecting?
Okay. Now, you mean paid out as in full value?
Yeah. Let's say full value. Whatever that is. There's no fucking about and all the rest of it. All your stuff goes. Your whole collection goes, and the money's there for you. At your age now, what are you? 60, 73.
Sonny, speak up, Sonny.
As it is, as of tomorrow morning, have you guys got what it takes to start collecting again?
100%. I would start right. Yeah, there. I would start the very next day. I'd start over because, to be honest, we can talk about this later. There would be such a void in my life.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't even. I'm not going to say I wouldn't want to go on, but I'd be fucked, man.
Yeah. I would rub my hands and go, the hunt is on. Let's get going.
Let's go.
I'd just be pleased about all those albums I've been trying to hike on eBay that nobody wants at the moment. That I can actually get something that I do want.
And at least you get rid of all those shitty Music for Nations ones, wouldn't you?
A couple of the crappy ones, yeah.
What would the differences be? What would the differences be if you were to start over again tomorrow? What would you do differently?
Well, I wouldn't be able to get as many because some of the albums I've got they cost twice as much to buy now as they did when I first bought them. But I don't know if I would do anything different. There was some Maiden I'd have to get again. Saxon.
I suppose you'd have to
bands I'd have to get again.
You'd have to be quite specific about what you're going for, because, like you say, some of the things.
I'm sure there'd be like 75%
very hard to buy, aren't they?
I mean, 75% of your collection, surely you'd buy again.
Yeah.
Well,
do you know what I mean? Because you'd probably have at least like 250, 300 albums. You'd go, well, they need to go straight back in.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, depending on obviously how many albums you've got. I mean, you do pick up bits and pieces. I mean, there's definitely albums that I wouldn't necessarily prioritize, but like you say, the Maidens, the Priests, some of these gems you've kind of found over the years, you would just go, they're going straight back in, and I need to get them now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But like you say, I mean, if you stopped collecting, say, tomorrow, everyone went up in flames. That means you're not buying any more music. You're not making any more videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
You're basically just giving that whole section of your life up.
No.
And just going, you know what? That's it, done now. So who could really do that?
Yeah.
I think I would be more selective. I think I would probably.
How can you possibly be more selective, Mike?
Hell, Mike. Mike, you're going to buy exactly the same what you've got in your room right now.
I don't know.
It would look exactly the same. You'd paint the room all white again. You get those shelves up again.
Yeah. Would you start again, Mike?
It depends if I was paid out. You know what?
Because you already have started again, haven't you? Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I probably would, but I think I really would. I'd probably have a cut-off point of, like, I don't know, 95, something like that. 95 with music for me, it starts to drop off a cliff.
Yeah.
After 95, I mean, absolutely fucking drop off a cliff.
I think all of us would be a little bit more specific in what we bought.
I think so. I mean, I've probably got about 90% of my collection, whether it be vinyl or CD. I've also got digital copies of. CDs I rip straight away because that's generally how I listen to CDs. I've got a good Bluetooth receiver, lossless copy, so to me it's pretty much as good as a CD. Vinyl, I used to go do that thing where you try and copy it to the computer, but it just takes too long. So now I figure if I own the album, I'm within my rights to go onto Metal Archives or Metal Tracker and download the digital version of it, because there's only so many hours in the day and there's only so much time I can spend in this room, and I can't listen to all my albums all the time. And if I own them, I want to listen to them wherever I can, ideally. So that's kind of. I mean, does anyone else kind of have a digital collection? And can you have a digital collection? Does it mean anything?
No, no. That's a good segue into. Not that I want to change what we're talking about, but the other thing is, why do we collect physical media? And besides making me happy, I just love the whole experience. I love holding this in my hand. Vinyl records, I love the size. I love the 12-inch cover. Like we've all said before, we could stare at Somewhere in Time album cover for hours and still see something new. Vinyl for me is a different experience than CDs. I don't mind the work that goes into getting up to flip a record, things like that. But I guess I can ask you guys, why do you collect physical media? Besides,
just before we answer that one,
yeah,
let me just throw this question in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, laser discs were all for films. What about if they fetched out laser discs, so you're getting the vinyl artwork size and everything, but the convenience of a CD? If they decided to bring those out tomorrow, would you jump on those and say, you know, and let's say we were told in advance, yes, everything is going to be coming out. If you want to start now, it starts tomorrow, and everything you want and will ever want will be coming out on this format. Would you carry on sticking with all the different formats, or would you say, right, tell you what, I'm going to go with this because it's like it's the best of both worlds. It's the big artwork, but it's the convenience of a CD.
Yeah. Personally,
would you do that?
Personally, I have no history with laser discs, because that's your example. I have zero interest in them. I don't never really owned one in my life. So personally, I say no. I just kind of stick with what I'm familiar with, what I grew up with, which was cassette. You know, I've even had some 8-tracks in my day. If you said, "Oh, are they going to come out with the new Overkill on 8-track?" Fuck, man, I might buy it. I don't know, but Overkill.
But I suppose
probably not.
I suppose you could argue, like back in the sort of late 80s, early 90s when CDs came out. Nobody knew that the CD was gonna last like it did.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad and a lot of people, and myself included, it was all vinyl and cassettes, and you weren't sure about the CD. Kind of given the answer that Darcy's now, well, I don't know. Do we need another format? I don't know. But it picked up and people embraced it. And it's become probably the biggest selling format ever. So if someone said to me, these laser discs, yeah, they're going to be as popular as CDs, and you're going to get, they're going to last forever. They're never going to degrade in sound quality, and every major album that's ever been made, every underground, they're all going to be on there. It's going to be the brand new. It's just a big giant CD. I reckon we'd all be. I'd be on it straight away.
Yeah,
I knew it was going to last.
Did anyone else get
What is that?
by the mini disc bug?
Yeah.
No, never.
I did.
No,
this
I
was,
wasn't
this
into
was
them.
going to be huge. The fact that it was smaller than a CD but had intricately more complicated packaging than a CD, and was you had to compress everything to fit it on the same amount. I thought it was going to be huge. I got tons of these. I've still got my mini display that I keep getting out, and I'm going to make mini discs. I made one. I made this Iron Maiden comp, and
Of course you did.
and then I didn't do anything else with it again, and it'll go back in the loft, and then I'm going to think, fucking hell, I've got that mini display. I'm going to get that out and make the comp.
If Nostradamus says that laser discs are all right, I'll have some of that. Yeah.
But what was your question again, Darcy? Back to what?
Oh, I was asking you guys, why do you collect physical media? What does it give you a high? I mean, it just makes me. It gives me a high. It makes me happy. All of the above. I have something. I own something. Anything digital, you don't own shit. You just own air.
I find myself, if I can't hold it in my hand while I'm listening to it, I can't get into an album. I can get a download code, pre-order an album, get the download code, listen to it, appreciate it, but until I've got that physical copy in my hands, and also I enjoy the ritual of turning my stereo on and getting my chair right in between the speakers and getting the vinyl out and giving it a wipe and putting it on and, putting a drink on the side. And I enjoy that whole ritual of that's how I absorb the music properly. I don't want to have it just on my phone sounding tinny. I don't want it. I just love that whole setup,
So, sorry, you said there that you don't want your phone sounding tinny, but that's because you're playing it on your phone. If you had a proper digital musical player, lossless media player, the sound of them is as good as CDs because it is a byte for byte copy.
I appreciate that. I'm only going off because I've never gotten into that side.
I agree. I mean, my whole digital collection, I've got pretty much everything on this thing here. I got a 400 and odd gig SD card in here, and this is what I'm talking about. 90% of my collection is on here: vinyl rips, vinyl downloads of things I've owned. But everything I own is on here. I don't have digital copies of things I don't own physically, and it sounds fantastic. But that if someone said to me, "Show me your collection," I went, "There you go."
Yeah,
it's not the same thing, is it? It's this is convenience for me. This is walking to work. This is going out for a walk. I was going to say go out for a run, but let's face it, I don't do that. It's convenience. It's going on holiday, taking my entire collection with me on holiday. Now, some people say they want to go away from holiday to get away from it all, but I don't want to get away from my music. I love my music. It's my escapism. So the physical thing for me, having it, rubbing my hands on the sleeve.
A few years ago, I bought a brand new car from the showroom, and they asked me what specs I wanted with the car, and it was a black car. And I said I want black alloy wheels with it, and I said I want a CD player in it. And they said, "Oh well, it's all it's all Bluetooth now, and you can just plug in there and you can do this and that." I said, "No, you've asked me what specs I want. I want a CD player in it, and they did it. They put a CD player in it for me because, again, when I'm driving to and from work, I go to my collection and sort of rub my hands along it and pull a CD out, and that's going to work with me, and I'm going to listen to that on the way to work and the way home, and that again is part of the ritual of my sort of collection, you know. I'll randomly pick something out, and that's going with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's a nice way of constantly listening to music throughout my collection. Nothing gets forgotten about, you know.
So is it the there's a question for you then? Is it the CD, the actual format, the fact that it's a round disc? And I wonder if it's a round disc because records were round. That's how we listen to music. If you got an album on an SD card, one album on an SD card, and it came in a nice little box with print that you could read, and you put that in, and then you stick this in, and you put that into a little slot in your media player. It's the same music that's on a CD.
Yeah,
exactly the same. The quality is the same because it's digital media. At the end of the day, would that do it for you?
That's a good question.
No, that is an excellent question. I need to go to the toilet.
Media.
You know,
at the end of the day,
I just thought of something. If you gave me a 12-inch jewel case with a 12-inch cover with a regular size CD just sitting in this big slot, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe it's just the size of the cover. I don't know.
It's kind of the laser disc idea, isn't it?
Maybe it's come with those laser discs. Yeah, I don't know.
If you got VCLT and there was like
or
2 of these in there,
are we saying that the 3 formats is enough?
It is for me.
It is for me.
Yeah.
When you can't take it too far.
Because Andy,
it's
a brilliant point, though, isn't it? If that's got all the artwork with it, and it's a physical thing that you're going to take out,
the artwork, just the music on it. It comes in a little box that has the artwork on it. The size Even to Darcy's point about a CD in an album, full artwork.
Yeah.
This is if you had an SD card in a CD size box. Would the act of taking that thing out, sticking it in a little slot,
I know, yeah.
I think I'd be looking to get a bigger SD card and drag them all onto it. No.
I don't know.
It's an extreme analogy, but I just thought it was interesting there.
No,
because it shows your attachment to that physical media, and probably because of certainly the nostalgia with it, but just the attachment that you have to that little silver disc is beyond the music that's on it.
Yeah,
it's like the attachment to a cassette, isn't it? Like, the CDs are quite robust. You know, you can drop them; they can get scratched to a certain degree and still play. Records, they can get scuffed and scratchy, but cassettes are very, very flimsy and unpredictable, and there's all sorts of things that can go wrong, even with the player, because it's the speed it moves, all these things. But there's still something really like it is nostalgia, but there's something warming about it. Even the fact that even when you play it and every now and then it might go and it wobbles a bit and you can hear the tape. There's still something nice about that. It's not just about the sound,
Yeah, like the CD is by far the most practical because, like on these cassettes, I know you guys. You know how many of these little things I've glued in my life? Got a pair of tweezers to try to get it back centered. I mean, I don't know. They're not the most practical thing, but going back to what you said, Mark, the nostalgia thing. But anyways, to answer your question, 3 formats is good for me.
Yeah. 3 formats is enough, Andy.
That's fine. I still like my digital, but it's purely practical.
You've got a Walkman, Mike. Do you take your Walkman out when you?
No, I'm frightened I'd drop it. It's that Walkman was like 32 quid, and now to try and pick that up, it's nearly 100.
Can you not clip it to your belt?
Yeah, I've got the whole belt strap thing in it, and you know, I can put fucking beige socks and sandals on as well, and walk to the fucking library.
I had that as well.
I think the physical with the physical format as well. I know Andy's very, very sort of digitally minded as well, and I'm not. And I think the physical format has kind of stopped me embracing the digital side of things as much as I probably should. I do have like Bandcamp, and I do download codes, so I have music on my phone. I put my headphones in. It sounds fine. It sounds great, but I think my love for the physical format has hindered my ability to embrace digital music. You know,
I'd never buy digital without. I never buy digital. I buy physical and get the digital as a result for convenience.
Yeah.
I cannot. In the past, I bought one or two things from Bandcamp, and I can't even remember what they are. I forget about them because they're just a file somewhere. I'm not looking through my shelf and feeling the records or going through my CDs or tapes, and I love that connection with the physical side. But I also, as I say, if I'm on holiday for somewhere for a week, and I want to listen to that that obscure 12th Night album that I've got. I don't really like that much, but I've got it anyway. I know I've got the digital copy of it and got it on there.
I have digital copy of a lot of stuff, but I use it like I'll put maybe I don't know a dozen albums on a stick and shove that in the car just to stop the car having CDs and stuff rattling around and then maybe getting scratched or dropping them on the way out or in and out the house or whatever. So I tend to just put a stick in full of albums that I already own, but it's just less mess in the car.
Absolutely, and that's where things like digital media players in cars really, and modern Walkmans, that comes into play. If you've got the stuff that you want to listen to, but you don't want to have to carry 15, 20 albums. As I say, I've got the best part of 1,000 albums at my fingertips. It's not the same, but then again, having an LP Walkman would be a little bit more inconvenient.
Has everyone on here got their collections on Discogs? Do they catalogue their collections?
Yeah.
Finally.
Yep.
Yeah.
To me, it's a no-brainer because I've never ever bought a second copy of something that I already own ever, because you can just pull it right up on the phone and say, right, yeah, I've got that. Or I look at the value of something if I spot something. Usually when I go to the guy on the market, he fucking hates the internet and eBay and everything. He just wants to sell on his stall. And he sells CDs on there. Like I bought that Wasp Kill Fuck Die for like £2. And I'm like, I'm buying it, but as I've bought it, I'm saying, you're a fucking idiot for selling me that. You know, because you'll get double figures for that online. He's like, oh, fuck that, not interested. Well, that's up to him. But if I come across stuff on Frontiers or stuff like that when I go on, I don't know about that label, but I know that label puts stuff out and then all of a sudden the fucking price goes up on it. And I'll look at stuff and like pull it up on Discogs and go, yeah, I'm going to buy that. Now I bought this. I forget the name of this guy. He was in Foreigner or Journey or something like that. I think the guy's dead now anyway. But he was the singer for someone like that. Jameson, and yeah, and he had the CD on there for like £5, and I looked it up on Discogs, and I seen that I would comfortably, without waiting for weeks and weeks on end, comfortably get fucking 30 quid for that. So that app to me is like invaluable. I'm going to buy that shit all day for £5 when I know I can get 30 quid for it. and I'll plow that 30 quid or 25 quid profit into something that I do give a shit about. You know what I mean? And people have this whole like, you get a lot of it's quite maligned, the whole approach to flipping records and that. And I just say, like, that's just because you're passionate. You wouldn't go to a fucking hardware store and go, oh, I love screws. I think this guy's mental for selling all these screws. Why doesn't he just collect fucking screws?
Plus,
you know,
as well, you've got to think about, as much as you're flipping it, you are flipping it, but it's going to go to someone who's actually looking for it, who wants it. You know, so it's going to a good home.
Yeah.
Isn't it? You know, I put mine on disco because I was getting to the point where if I was out and about and I spotted an album, I'd be thinking, have I got that?
I was just saying,
Yeah.
You know, and so that's why I've got to get my stuff on Discogs, because I started to duplicate buy on more than a few occasions. You know,
I did that with. So when my vinyl collection started getting of a size, it was fun to put on, and I did anyway. I already had things catalogued. I've got this other software I've shown before that I do, but I have now them both, and they're linked to each other, so it's all kind of. So if my computer burns down, I've still got another copy. But I didn't do my CDs because my CDs. To me, I had a vinyl collection, and I was all about my vinyl collection, and I had a shitload of CDs, but I never really considered it to be much of a collection. It was just my CDs. But I bought a copy of, and it's not a rare album at all. It was the Ramones compilation of the Chrysalis years. It's dirt cheap, and I bought a copy of it. And I was like, great, another one, because I've got a shitload of Ramones CDs, and I put it in the box and thought, oh fuck, I've got that one already. And it's in the time when I'm selling stuff that I've got duplicate on CD to vinyl in most cases, and I can't get rid of it because it's such a cheap CD and nobody wants it. I'm not going to put it on eBay for less than £1.
yeah.
And I can't get rid of it at all. I thought, right, that's it. I've got to get my CDs on because I just don't want to buy stuff that I've already got. And in some cases with some bands, being the whole collector stuff about having everything by an artist, and Ramones is one of those ones that I'm losing track of what I got. And that's not a good thing to be in, a good way to be, really. But you know, it's going to save me money in the long run. Maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I
what's
actually
happened?
enjoyed the whole process of putting stuff on Discord. And it's so much so, right? You know, you've seen the videos of my cousin's collection with all the picture discs. I made another Discogs and I put all his on. He didn't even bother his ass putting his on. I put his on.
I thought you were going to say you enjoyed it so much you bought stuff just to put it on this.
Well, that's another
having
thing.
said that is something that a lot of people on the VC, not the Discogs thing, seem to buy stuff that they maybe like, but they buy stuff just to show on YouTube.
Definitely.
That's the whole of the park, likely, isn't it?
I think when you first, I remember Mike made a video before I started making videos on YouTube. Mike made a video and he said a warning to the VC, I think it was, and he said about this, he said, don't get caught up, if you're thinking of starting a channel, don't get caught up in buying stuff to show it because you're excited about your YouTube channel. And I remember thinking about that when I first started. I completely got what Mike was talking about, because you do get a thing where you think, I need some more stuff to show because I'm meeting all these amazing people and I'm really enjoying this, and you really, really do have to rein yourself in.
You know what though? People don't want to admit to that, and they'll go, no, I love it, absolutely brilliant. And they just do not want to go, that's what I've done there. I'm sorry, I've done. They don't want to. It's horrible to admit. I've made some fucking awful decisions in the last 6 years of buying stuff, and wishing I hadn't. But I own those mistakes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think
people just don't want to say that they do that. They're like, no, I'm standing by this, and you're like, oh, fuck off.
I don't think there's anybody who has a YouTube channel who hasn't got sucked into that a little bit at least. You know?
Yeah, 100%.
I know I have.
Yeah, I have.
because when I first started, this might be really like amazing, like to believe, but I used to make a video every week.
What?
Now it's like few and far between digging, but oh yeah, I used to go out digging every weekend. I used to be on eBay, Amazon every day buying stuff, and I mean, for 4 weeks at a time, I could show like 10 albums in like every week. And it's like you're buying so much you can't even process it.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, you're literally going in, listening, and then that's it. It's on the shelf because you need to go out and buy another 10 albums. And
so you
obviously
almost become like when the radio stations got sent a CD, you listen to it once, review it, and then put it away.
Yeah.
So
that's why, like, obviously along the line, you do go, no, fucking wait now. I need to slow down. I've got a big collection here. I actually need to start taking it in.
Yeah.
So...
But it's understandable because you're excited about it. You know, you're meeting all these great people, and you're buzzing. You're excited to be a part of a community.
Yeah.
The thing is, and this is a mistake a lot of people fall into the trap of. If they did take the time and listen to these albums and digest them and understood them and were able to put into words why these albums are important to them and blah blah blah, they would find that they would still get that dopamine hit by a comment or a whatever, a like, and making videos even more so, because I watch videos so that I can get I just want to hear what they think of the thing. I don't fucking care that you've bought it.
Yeah.
I don't care that you've bought it. I want to know why it's so fucking awesome. You know, why another one is so shit. But you see how many times you watch a video and people will say, I'm going to just show you this. I'm not going to talk about it too much. But yeah, that. And you're like, well, what the video? Fuck off. Because if you're not going to talk about it too much, why are you even switching your camera on? Because that's why we're all here, surely. I don't need to see your shopping list. You don't just hold your fucking receipt up and go, there you go, look, I spent 63 quid on them. Yeah. You know what I mean?
When I started, I did get that buzz, almost like that dopamine hit. And I was buying stuff I wanted, but I was buying stuff thinking, I'll show that in the next video. I'll show that in the next video. And I wanted that, but I wasn't really digesting a lot of it, as you said, because I had to move on to the next video. So I wasn't buying stuff because I thought I need stuff for the next video. Well, I suppose it does sound like I was, but it was stuff that I knew I would like. I knew it would be good in my collection, but it wasn't giving me enough stuff to digest it. Now, when you see my collection of videos now, I mean, I keep talking about my inbox. I've got some things in there. I buy things when the opportunity arises and they're a decent price, and sometimes it comes in waves. Other times it comes in dribs and drabs. But when I get something new, I'm not necessarily in the mood to listen to it right then and there. Uh-huh. And I mean, that video I put up last night, that Tigers of Pang and Tang album, I got that as a Father's Day present 2 years ago, and I've only really started listening to it now. It's been in the inbox, and I'm glad I had it, and I got it there, and I knew it was there, and I was kind of in a bit of a kick to listen to that. And but you know, obviously, if it was just bought to show in that video, I would have shown it 2 years ago.
When I first started, I showed everything I bought. I showed, but now I probably only show maybe 20% of the music I actually buy. You know, because some of the stuff, if I get it and it's okay, but it's just okay, I don't need to show it in a video and just go, yeah, this is all right. Yeah. I want to tell you about something that I really like. I got this. It's fucking brilliant. It's filthy and it's horrible and it's dirty.
And I just love it.
It's old school death metal.
So I found myself more Like the stuff will come in and I'll enjoy it and it'll stay in my collection, but it's not something that I feel like the need to express to anybody else, really, you know.
See, I quite like that. See, now, I quite like that. I like actually maybe picking up an album and thinking, you know what? I'm not actually sure about this. Because it kind of adds to your video. It's just so you're not going, this is amazing. This is amazing. And well, I'm not saying you do this, Mark, but this is amazing. This is amazing. It's because people just get bored. You could just say everything's amazing. You could just say, I've just bought these 10 albums, they're all amazing. Right? Catch you guys later. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, I quite like kind of diving back into albums and going, you know what, this is like a really highly praised album, but I think it's a bit shit. But do you know what? I might get shit in the comments, but I'm just going to go, this is a bit shit. Do you know what I mean? But I suppose that's where we all differ, and that's why it's interesting, because it could be the best album in the world for... Hiya. It could be the best album in the world for 95% of people. But you don't like it. And then you think to yourself, well, Andy likes it, Darcy likes it, Mike likes it, Mark likes it. Why do you not like it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
and I like to hear why some, you know, and that's what I think is lacking, and that's why it's got to be that's always at the center of your videos. Really, is your own personal.
Yeah, of course.
Opinion on it. It's got to be. It's the only thing you've got.
I think it's hard for new channels to be, I mean, we've been doing it for a number of years now, so we're kind of probably a little bit more battle hardened. We know what we want, and we kind of thought, you know, we've been at that stage where we thought, oh shit, I've just been buying stuff for this or that, or and we've kind of cemented that place within, you know, the YouTube music community that at the end of the day, you know, we do what we like and people know what we like, and that's great. But new people coming in and trying to get a little piece of that action, and I guess it's difficult to do that because there's so many channels that are starting up and so many people that just want, and so many people doing. I mean, there are a lot of channels that follow, and I struggle to keep up with people posting once a week. And I post once a week myself when I'm really in the mood for it. But I struggle with some people to keep up with once a week. But when people are doing once a day, sometimes more than once a day, it's really hard to kind of keep up with that and watch them all. You know, because there's just not enough hours in the day with a number of channels as well. So I think people have got to find their niche. They've got to find what they're comfortable with, and just really kind of.
If you upload a video the day after the previous video, or even 2 days after the previous video, you are killing the chance of that previous video getting.
Yeah.
Well, it's like if they put the Book of Boba Fett on every night. You want to watch it. You're anticipating the next episode next week, aren't you? You know, you're waiting for it. So that's what you kind of want to do with your channel, really. But making that point before someone raised it about, do you find the bigger your collection and the more music you have, the less you digest albums? Like when you were younger and you saved your pocket money up and you bought an album, and that was the one album you bought that week, and you played it day after day after day. You went out to your friends' houses, you played it for them. As you've gotten older and your collection's bigger, and you're more about getting albums in and new releases, and there's a lot more bands nowadays releasing things. Do you digest your collection like you used to years ago?
I find it quite easy to digest albums. When I don't digest an album, that's when I think, there's something not clicking with me, if you know what I mean. Like, I got the new Saxon, and that's been on like 4 times in a row, and I've digested that really easily because it's quite straightforward. You know, Saxon are quite consistent in how they play and what they and what they do.
sorry, Scott. I'm going to. So I'm trying.
I think Mike's tummy's rumbling again.
Yeah,
I
it
know.
is. I meant to click on
Mike's
mute.
underwater
just to make
again.
sure. You might want to do your exit and come back again, Mike.
Just don't bring him back in again, Andy.
It's getting louder and louder.
But yeah. So if there's something that I'm listening to and it's taken me a few goes, that's when I'll think, all right, what am I not getting here?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But that's the difference in it, because when you were younger, you only had the one album. So, and if you weren't sure about it, you probably
It's all you played.
Yeah, because it's all you had. So it probably resonated. It had more chance to resonate with you because it got more spins, you know. And I think you do. I do digest albums, and like you say, certain albums will really pique your interest, and you'll play them a lot. But I think the older you get and the bigger your collection gets, the less
chance you get.
Yeah, less chance you get to play it, because you're almost looking for that next hit. Right, I've got these albums in. Let me have a listen to that one now.
Crikey!
Well, the Room's come back, but Mike hasn't.
And the sound is gone, so it must have been his belly. Hasn't it?
I hope he's going to make himself a sandwich or something.
Oh, come back that tin of sardines, whatever he eats.
Oh yeah, fucking hell. How do you find that, Darcy? You know, because you're, like I say before, you're the king of the pre-orders, so you have quite a lot of new music coming in.
Yeah.
Do you get the time in your life to listen to those records as much as you'd like to? Shall I say?
Well, you know, as much as I am busy in my personal life, I don't have kids at home anymore. I'm not involved in running around for sports, so I do have, you know, a lot of time. I'm an early riser, so I spend at least an hour in the morning, and that's another thing is the obsession of I'm always on Amazon or Metal Blade Records or Nuclear Blast. I'm on there every morning with my cup of coffee, and with the headphones on, so I don't wake up my wife or whatever. So I do have, I would say, I don't know, probably 3 hours a day that I can listen to music peacefully. And I'm up early, but I'm also in bed early too. So I know there's times where Michael texts me and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing up still? It's just like, with the 6 hour time difference, but you know, I do have enough time during the week, you know, especially the winters are cold here. There's snow, there's nothing to do here. So I do have lots of time in the winter, maybe not as much in the summer, but I definitely, what I'm after, Mark, and everybody, is, you know, back in the day where you just played an album day after day, hour after hour, you would drive around in your car with your friend and just keep flipping the tape over, and you just knew what was coming next. You knew every nuance, every guitar solo, everything.
Yeah,
that's what I'm in pursuit of when I grab a new album. And
absolutely,
it's probably less than 10% that I get to that level with, and that's always a concern of mine. But that 10% is usually like an exceptional album, and that's what I'm after. That's the high I'm after.
Yeah, I would rather listen to an awesome album 20 times than 20 albums once.
Yeah.
I'm very repetitive in a lot of things. Like I have like hundreds of comedies on a hard drive plugged into my telly, and I can sit and watch fucking Open All Hours or whatever for the 100th time, and Jodie's like, "What the fuck are you watching this for?" And I get as much enjoyment every time. So by my nature is like that, you know. So
yeah,
I can put a fucking Testament album on and be air drumming and the Legacy, something like that. Put that on. I get way more enjoyment out of that than putting on Titans of Creation. but I do love Titans of Creation.
I suppose that's where I'm coming from. Really, is are we maybe just because of whether it's anything to do with our collection or our age, are we ever going to be able to play the New Testament album or put the New Order on and just go, oh, that's where it is?
Do you know what? It's funny you saying that, but this week, because I got Titans of Creation last year for my birthday, 2021, but I got a shitload of other albums and it didn't get played much. I've played it about 5 times this week. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
But that's because I've got a chance to absorb it. Sorry, Mark, I interrupted you.
No. So that's the point I'm making. Is what we're looking for. It like it could ever, like it was in the past. You know what I mean? Are we ever going to be able to recreate? Because those albums meant so much to us in our youth, and we have absorbed them that much. Are we ever going to get that? No matter how many records we buy or how many additions we make to our collection, will we ever be able to get that same buzz as you know what Ride the Lightning means to you, or you know Spreading the Disease?
I don't know.
Or does it matter?
Album,
does it matter?
It really,
you know?
but I think it all comes down to, again, how much time you spend with an album.
Yeah.
But you've got to remember when, especially for you guys, when like Ride the Lightning came out, that was like you in your prime. Do you know what I mean? That was like your mates just fucking living life, all this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When you sit and listen to an album now, you're sitting in your room and you're going, all right, okay, the new Testament album, and it's this.
Yeah, actually, that's me. That's a fantastic impression.
And you go,
but more hair.
oh my
God, this guy's got the same surname as your band, Mark. That's incredible.
But do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
taking an album in now is different to taking an album in 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I make the point of taking an album now, whereas before I took it in without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
We need to start taking our albums out to our mates' houses. Like we
need
used
some
to.
mates,
Yeah.
I've got one that he's just left a comment there.
I say there's albums in my collection that I love now that I know if they came out now, I wouldn't give them the time of day. But the circumstances. Say if one of my mates bought an album, you know, and it wasn't very good, we were like, well, tough. That's what I bought. I can't do out about it. No one wanted to buy it off you because they probably didn't think it was great either. So you had to just keep plugging away at it and hoping you got your head around it. And because you were like, we used to play a lot of cards. We used to play whist a lot, believe it or not.
Twister.
And, no, we used to play cards a lot and just having music on in the background. And before you know it, a few games of whist and you're like, do you know what? It's fucking awesome, this, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you needed that time to just let it wash over you. I find letting albums happen in the background while I'm doing something else is a good way of me getting into something. If I concentrate my efforts too much, I'm too fucking critical. Like that new Halloween album, I was way too critical of that Halloween album. And I put it on the other day and just got on with things and thought, fuck man, that's like twice as good as I thought it was.
You want to? You should try that with Rat.
Yeah, Rat with a bit of solitaire.
That face said it.
No, but I know what you mean, Mike. Because I was thinking, like, okay, what if Practice What You Preach came out today? I'd be like, what the fuck is Testament doing?
Yeah,
I hated that on the day anyway. When that came out, I fucking hated it. I thought it was shit.
Did you? Okay, and I always loved it. I do love it now, but it took me months because I thought this is like a step down. It's thin, it's weak. I always loved the title track, but I just thought it was piss poor compared to the first two. Yeah. And it took a few months, and you know, and then I got my head around it, and then it became fucking like right up here for me.
Remember, Darcy, that Mike is years ahead of most people when it comes to to making these these
Yeah.
opinions. I mean, you're making this observation in what 2022. Oh, Mike did this back in 1988. He's decades ahead
He's
of all
from
of us.
I'm on a different plane, really.
You are.
Yeah, you are. You're on a different level for sure.
It's a superpower.
Nothing plain about you, mate.
Well, the one question I had for you, you had asked me, some pre-questions for tonight's discussion, and I've often thought, I'm not much of a what if person, but I thought in this situation, what if I never discovered YouTube? What if I never met you guys? What if I never watched all the videos I watched? And I guess Mike and I talked about this too, how much the vinyl community, music community influences your buying. I don't know where my collection would be if I wasn't involved in this for the past 3 odd years. I just don't know. It's just one of those things I can't answer. But I know that you guys and several other people have cost me a lot of money. I'm sure I've cost people a lot of money, and I'm sure we've helped out some bands here and there. But
Cheers.
I don't know, where would your collection? Where do you think it would be? Would you probably have more money in the bank? I guess.
Well, yeah.
I
Definitely.
would.
I don't know.
It'd be far
At
smaller.
least we're not wasting our money that way.
I think it's heavily influenced. I mean, some of the bands. I mean, bands like Sanctuary. Keep quiet, Mike. Like that album I'd never ever heard of, and now I would put that easily in my top 10 of metal albums all the time. So there's the influence is there, and there's probably a whole host of albums I could just grab out and say that I would never have heard of if it wasn't for the VC. Or I've heard them first on the VC. Maybe I would have discovered them later on. Who knows? But it's certainly opened my eyes to a much wider range of music, and certainly as I've got to know people, and certainly I don't. Every time somebody holds up a record and says this is brilliant, I don't necessarily go out and check it out. But when I get to know that person and I get to know their taste, if they say it's brilliant, I'm more likely to check it out. Again, it's a lot what we're saying before about people showing stuff and then showing their personality with it. If people just keep saying everything is fantastic, then you just kind of think, well, it glosses over maybe there's a gem I'm going to miss, because I think you think everything's fantastic. But when people are a little bit more rounded about their opinions, those are the channels that I really love, because you can kind of get to know that person. You think, well, you thought that album was brilliant. I thought it was great. You think that album was brilliant. I've never heard of it. I'm going to go and check that one out.
Yeah.
So it's influenced my buying massively, I would say.
Oh, definitely. I mean,
if I want you to buy something, Andy, I'm just going to say it's fucking garbage from now on, and I know you'll go and check it out.
I'll be all over it. Yeah.
Well, it's like the band, for me, like, for instance, Seven Sisters. I would never have found them if it wasn't for watching Andy's videos or watching other videos showing Seven Sisters. And even at the time, when he first showed them, I was like, nah, huffing and puffing about it.
Excuse me.
But after picking up the last album...
I bought that this week.
What's that?
Andy he'll know exactly what it is.
Yeah, that's
that I would never have bought that if it wasn't for Andy.
Have you got the first EP or album?
No, just that one. I bought that one
because that one I was a bit disappointed with. The first one is fucking brilliant. If you can get over that.
I've not fucking listened to it yet, you bastard.
That's good. No, honestly, it's great.
But yeah, I was sorry for putting in, Scott. I was just sort of re-emphasising that's the point there. You know, albums that I would never have dreamt of, never heard of if it wasn't for watching people in the VC.
See, I wouldn't have bought this if it wasn't for Mike.
Yeah, I still haven't bought it.
I'm sure you would.
Yeah, you know what? Because that's a classic Mike story. Is there's a band that, you know, a year and a half ago he wouldn't have given the time of day, and that goes to a lot of bands. I've went back to bands and originally thought this is a bunch of shit, I can't listen to this, and then I would go back and I'm like, okay, I get it now. And but that, I guess what I'm saying too is that goes a lot to those videos where I like what Mike said. You want to talk about an album and not just say, this is good. I bought this today. I haven't listened to it. I'll talk about it tomorrow. You want to say something about these albums, you know, to get people, especially in the comments, they'll say, oh yeah, I love that album also. You need to check that out. So
Yeah, or they'll turn in and say, what the fuck? Are you mental? That's a great album. You'll be like, well, sorry, but
yeah.
That's what you want, isn't it?
I mean, I had a guy, I don't know if he's watching this, but I had a guy comment on my videos recently saying it was on my my top 20 or my top albums of 2021. And he said, oh, what you listen to all that shit for? You know what I mean? It's why are you showing shit like KK's Priest when you've not even checked out this album, you've not even checked out that album? And I was like, all right, okay. So I checked out the 2 albums that he recommended. One I thought was pretty good. So I wrote back saying, oh, that was actually quite a good recommendation. And then the other one, he suggested, I was like, what a pile of shit that is. Like, you obviously don't watch any of my videos because that's not what I would listen to.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I just wrote back saying, oh yeah, the first one, that was pretty good. The second one was a pile of fucking shite.
But that is kind of a good thing as well, because you know me, and I've always been into me thrash and me death metal, me old school, and I've always appreciated other aspects of heavy metal. But really, sort of watching Andy, especially Andy, really, and that newer bands playing that old school heavy metal, it really sort of resonated with me, and it's a style that I've really embraced over the years. And Eliminator, Seven Sisters, Toledo Steel, Viol, all these, you know, Hellripper, all these bands, and they're brilliant. And it isn't really a style that I have ever really listened to. I've always been, it was hard rock, and then I discovered Metallica, Anthrax, Megadeth, and that was it. It was just thrash and death metal. And it's been nice listening to Andy, and because I kind of respect Andy's opinion and listen to what he says, and he sent me a mixtape as well.
I'm loving this live stream because I get a lot of love here. I get a lot of love.
But it's one of the beautiful things about it, you know. And my collection's a better collection for that, because I've got a little bit more of a diverse taste than I did. It's set me off on another path that I wouldn't have ever gone down if it wasn't for, you know, listening to other people sharing their collections with you, you know.
That's true.
There's something to be said for one where Andy's at and his access to all these gigs, or these bands seem to set up, start playing, and they seem to play right in his back garden, every one of them.
Yeah,
He's got a big back garden.
If I was there, right, because what I'll go and buy and put on the shelf or put in the stereo is totally different to what I'll be prepared to go and buy a ticket and go and see to fill my Thursday night in. I will go and see bands I don't own a single fucking thing from. And I would, if I lived near that venue where Andy goes, I would probably go there all the time as well. And I would have started down that rabbit hole and thought, you know what? Because if you go and see a live band, it gives you a connection that you don't get by just buying an album off Amazon.
Yeah, it's a personal thing.
And I don't
thing,
have that the same. So, you know, and I was never into it, the old version of it, you know, the whole Northern thing. If we were to rank genres, would be fucking through the floor with me. It's nothing, but I get it's massively popular, you know. But even with me, if they were playing in my back garden sort of thing, and I was able to meet them and get the stuff signed and all that, I would be thinking, oh yeah, I'm definitely giving this more interest.
It's a big thing, being able to see those bands. And some of the bands I've got to see because I've heard of them, and then the support band comes in, and then you go, like, well, actually, that support band was pretty good. I've never heard of them before. Oh, they've got a demo CD. I'm going to grab that as well, and I'll grab a T-shirt too, because some of those gigs I go to with those venues, they're like £5 to get in, or they were, and there were 4 bands playing, so they're not getting any money for those gigs at all. That's just covering the cost of the hire. They're just playing because they want their music to be out there. So I kind of feel obliged if I'm going there to pick up something off the merch counter anyway. And I find some great bands that way. And I'm desperate for it to start up again. It's been like 2 years since that's happened. I've noticed some of the bands I used to see that used to come up here, they're just doing English tours now because a lot of them are like from the south. Toledo Steel, Southampton, some sisters around London area. And they're starting the gig again, but they're only going like close to home because it's kind of, I guess it's the expenses are lower, so they're not. And
by,
they're cancelled.
By the way, Andy, Iron Void are playing at Bannerman's soon.
They are 24th of, and they've got Tantrum, which is another local band, and they've got a new singer, or a supporting as well. So I'm looking forward to see that. So if I'm around, I'm definitely going to go and see that. Iron Void are very doomy, aren't they?
Yeah,
Tantrum band, very traditional heavy metal, so it's an interesting combo.
Yeah, we're starting to get a few gigs up here too, but for me, it's always 2 or 5 hours to drive in a car, and I am not driving 5 hours to see Slipknot. I wouldn't drive 15 minutes to see them, but that's for a different day. But we got them coming, and Mastodon is playing, but just 2 to 5 hours. It just seems like a whole day out of your life, really, you know. And who's going to who's driving 5 hours on a Wednesday night?
I struggle to get to Glasgow, which is an hour away for some gigs.
Well, yeah, you go on the train, right? You go on the train,
and that's
ride?
on the train as well. That's like, that's not hard at all. But it's kind of like, oh well, I won't get home till 1 a.m. I've got work in the morning.
And it's not like I don't want to go to shows. I mean, if Judas Priest comes around, or some of the bands I really want, I'm gonna go. Or if Iron Maiden comes around, but I don't know. They're just not letting many into Canada yet, anyways. Because
I suppose for you as well, Darcy, there you're not going to get the same types of bands that sort of me and Andy and that do get. We get the smaller bands because I only have to drive 60 miles to Manchester.
Yeah,
and there's loads of bands playing. Andy's the same with Bannerman's in Edinburgh. Yeah. So it's quite nice for us because we get to see the smaller bands.
Yeah,
and like he was saying, it's the support bands you've never heard of, and they pique your interest. I suppose for you, and just the geography of where you are, Darcy, it's difficult, isn't it?
If you know the geography of Canada, east in Toronto area or west in the Vancouver area are the two popular, the Iron Maidens, or let's say a band like U2 comes, they're only going to play those two places, or Montreal in Quebec, Canada. Some of these bands only come to Canada for 3 shows, and I'm talking the big bands, right? But we don't get the Toledo Steels and things like that. That just doesn't happen. They're not coming here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
unfortunately, they can't afford to. Yeah, I mean the small bands.
Absolutely, they can't.
I was going to ask you again. I suppose getting back on topic really about collecting, and again we talk about going back in the day. We talk about it a lot, but do you guys still find it interesting to blind buy, or is that something that you don't ever do anymore? Because I still do. I will hear someone who I'll respect their opinion and know what their taste is in music, and they will tell me about a band, and I will sometimes I'll look on Bandcamp. It's cheap enough to buy, and I will sometimes just buy it because I know this person told me it was going to be good.
Yeah.
And I still quite enjoy that feeling of blind buying. That I always loved it back in the day of getting it over. Oh, do you know what? It looked good. It sounds good. I'm made up with this.
Yeah.
Do you guys still do that at all?
I personally, no, I don't. I do my homework before I buy something. And I still make mistakes. I still make mistakes even doing my homework. I'm like, why the fuck did I buy that? But I don't blind buy.
No.
Flat out, no.
I don't.
No, I mean, I would rather just, even if I hear a couple of songs, I wouldn't just go and just order it straight away. Do you know what I mean? I think that kind of, I suppose it would be good to go back to that, you know, just picking it up and the excitement of just hearing everything for the first time. But I mean, there's so many ways to hear music now without having to buy it. I can just see an album cover sometimes and just think that looks great, and I'll just buy it. I'm not talking 30 quid vinyl. I'm talking £3 on eBay. Yeah.
It's got to be cheap for me. I mean, blind buying I used to do so many times. Even when I started recollecting 8 or 9 years ago, I was looking at anything that was like 80s metal. I would it wouldn't be a total blind buy. Certainly if I was buying online, I would listen to maybe a song. So it'd be kind of I knew what I was getting, but I didn't want to listen to the whole album. I wanted that surprise. My first ever blind buy was this one. And that was
that's a good one.
Back in around 88. And I visited my sister. She was living in Bath. And I went into a record shop and I saw that one and thought, I love the cover and I love the name of the songs. And ever since then, I've just always liked that thrill of you know, it's a bit of a guessing game, and it's generally on the cover. You know, you say you should never judge a book by its cover. Number of albums, you can't judge it by anything else, can you? You've never heard it. There's no synopsis on the background like a book. At least a book tells you what the story's going to be about. An album never tells you what the story's going to be about. You look at the logo and you think, I think I know what that's going to be like. I mean, I know, Mark, you probably look at the logo and think, I can't read that logo. I'm going to love it.
It must be awesome.
Exactly. I'm gonna love it.
If you don't know what the band name is, it's bound to be brilliant.
Yeah. Or it's got a corpse being ripped apart. You're going to go, I love that.
Yeah.
And me, I was the same with anything that was on like Mausoleum label, which is second-rate Belgium label. Second-rate back in the day, but second-rate metal back in the day is like awesome now. It's all those untouched gems that are getting re-released all the time now on High Roller because, you know, people, they just have to find something new to re-release. But these days with the cost of stuff, I rarely blind buy at all. I kind of miss it. CDs maybe, but very rarely.
What about, I was saying to Darcy before about the sort of death of all our favourite bands and rock stars and stuff. Will that impact your I know we've had like Lemmy's died and Dio and stuff like that, but it's like one here, one there. They were a lot older than us. So when in the next sort of 10 years or something, when more and more go, do you think that'll have an effect on your interest in the whole scene? Or do you think you'll just be like, well, you know, fair enough?
Do you mean interest or buying habit?
For me, I think my interest in the whole thing will die with all these people. When I look and think like, oh shit, Chuck Billy's not alive. No.
Oh, Mike's not alive.
Why
would he die?
I haven't got a connection with the newer people.
You haven't got a connection on your internet.
No, I've just noticed that. Noticed that.
We missed what you said then. We missed what you said then, Mike, because you froze.
I'm sure you're in the middle of saying metal-pocalypse.
No, I'm just saying with all the people that I grew up loving, when they're starting to drop off massively, because they're all roughly 10 to 15 years older than me, and when all them lot are sort of wiped out, or the majority, I feel like my interest will be kind of wiped out as well, because I haven't connected with anyone new. I think when, you know, once the sort of commemorative box sets come out and, you know, the maybe a documentary on television because of, you know, talking about their life and all that, 12 months, 2 years later, when all that subsided and they're just gone and there's, you know, I'm never going to hear another Testament album or whatever. I think that'll kill my interest massively when they start to pop off. What about you, Lot? What do you think?
Well, I was thinking about that, thinking about the band Rush, because you had said that the 40th anniversary of Moving Pictures. So Rush hasn't done a studio album since their last studio album, and obviously they're not going to do another one because of a key member's death, but they haven't done a studio album since 2013. And I still have full-on interest with them, but they're just carrying on with these 40th anniversary, and then who knows, is it going to be the 50th anniversary? But to answer your question, I think I will still be just as invested as I am now 10 years from now, but I'm going to miss those bands making new music, but am I going to stop being a fan? Like, I mean, look at Kiss. I'm not the biggest Kiss fan in the world, but they haven't made new music for years, but they're still going for now and maybe retiring. I don't know, but I don't know. I think we're just going to have to cross those bridges as we go, but I think I'll still be invested in the bands I love. I can't see that changing.
Yeah, same here. Even when the likes of Lemmy died, it was like you see these announcements, you think, shit, that's a massive end of an era. And then you also see things like all of a sudden Motorhead albums are jumping to the top of the charts because all of a sudden people want to buy Motorhead stuff. And I've never, with the death of any major artist, felt that I've had to all of a sudden go out and buy their music or their records, but I've still enjoyed listening to what they've done. I think the bands that will really affect me will be, when one of the Maiden guys goes, that's going to be, I'm probably going to actually be in bits then, because I remember when all of the Ramones were dying, and obviously they're a lot older than me, but I was massively into them, but I didn't get into them till, God, almost the 90s. And that was something like, all of a sudden, one of my favorite bands, every single member is dead. Original member, obviously not. There's a couple that's still alive that joined after, but some of the bands now that I've idolized for years, it will be gut wrenching when they go, but I don't think it would ever affect my listening of their music. No,
I didn't mean of the music. I just meant of the being excited about. Although I suppose I've answered my own question, because I'm not really excited about new music anyway. Yeah. So
I'm kind of the opposite, really, because instead of sort of going back and listening to the old school stuff by the old school bands, there's in the genre of music that I'm really listening to a lot, there's a whole new scene emerging full of young bands and brilliant young bands, but playing an old school style that I love. So for me, there's a whole new scene that I've cottoned onto over the last couple of years that fills me with loads of excitement. You know what I mean? And it seems to me like excuse me, the underground death metal scene is as strong as it's been in a long time. You know, I'm only talking specifically for that genre, really. Thrash, not so much, but for that old school, and not just the Swedish style. I'm just talking doom death metal. That's my thing. Death doom metal. It's really strong at the moment. So, like I say, for me, it's completely opposite. It's really, really exciting for me seeing all these young bands coming through.
Who out of all these bands, Mark? I know you show stuff and like Liam and Metal Miners, and you all kind of show a very similar thing.
Yeah.
Who out? Because I've tried like dozens of those recommendations when they've popped up, and every one of them leaves me thinking the same thing. There's no real killer fucking vocals in there. They're just generic vocals that, yes, they fit that style of music and no more. They're definitely fit, but there's definitely nothing special about them, and that's what kills me. I can't stand to have albums that aren't fucking awesome. I just can't do it. I try to wheedle them out of my collection all the time. Albums that aren't awesome, because I just think if it's not worth me owning and tying that money, I could free that money up. If I'm just going to listen to something once every 4 years, that's not enough. That's not value for money. It would have to have been given to me for nothing for that to be okay. And I haven't heard any vocalists in this sort of new style of death metal. And I'm not averse to fucking horrible death metal, as you know. But none of it at all is like getting in and me going, oh yeah, fair enough. You know.
There's definitely, because of the sort of death doom style, and I think a lot of bands are influenced by the likes of Autopsy and that really murky, horrible sound. The vocals from a lot of bands have tended to become kind of part of the music. You're not getting the John Tardys and the Martin Van Drumens, but there are some exceptions. You listen to a band called Skeletal Remains, and the vocals, they're very Martin Van Drunen, but they do stand out. But it's definitely going more for a whole atmosphere. Death doom metal. It's more about the whole atmosphere than it is picking out. You know, like I suppose, like what you're saying is when you first heard Obituary, John Tardy's voice pops in, and we're like, oh my god, you know. Same with Glenn Benson. It probably is lacking a little bit of that, because it's a slightly different style. They're not just, you know, they're not playing the set. It's a darker version of Obituary and Deicide, you know.
Yeah, but a lot of that has to do with you can't replicate, you can't go back in the past.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we said it at the beginning of this video or our stream that there's only so many places bands can go. There's, you know, it almost feels like everything's been done. And you know what? I thought about this the other day. As much as I don't think I'm a fan of the band Ghost, but you got to say they're doing something original. I think they are. They got their own thing going. Like, I mean, that new single for Call Me Little Sunshine, it's a fantastic song. I'm not a full-blown fan of the band, but originality is really lacking. But there's only so many places a band can go. They're running out of room.
Just to comment on what you've said there, Darcy, and I know thousands of people have said that same sentence, right? But I've got a theory on this. You know, you've just said there, it feels like everything's been done. Back in 1986, to all the musicians that were alive then, it felt like everything had been done then, I bet, as well, before death metal happened. It'll have felt like you couldn't go anywhere else then. It'll always feel to musicians and the world, whatever period you're in, yeah, you can't do any more. There's everything's been invented. They'll have said that before fucking aeroplanes. Do you know what I mean?
Paul's getting out of here, Mike.
I mean, like black metal. I know what you're saying, Mark, about the atmosphere and all that. See, that to me, that's what kills it. I don't go in for the whole atmosphere thing. Like with black metal, there's so much black metal that relies on an atmosphere. Whereas, you know that where's that mini album? Where's it gone? Bear with me. I always go back to this because it's just fucking awesome. That Hades mini album unholy congregation. That's like black metal. Now, forget atmosphere and all that fucking Burzum bollocks. That's just like, this is just total fucking hatred coming out of the guy's mouth. That's what I want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I can't get into when it's needing me to get into an atmosphere and have all this stuff washing over me. I'm like, oh no, I need John Tardy. I need fucking David Vincent. I need a fucking fist in the face.
Yeah. And that's a personal preference, isn't it? You know, there's no doubt about it. You know, and we were lucky, Mike, though, because we were around for the birth of death metal, really, weren't we? You know, so we were privy to these bands coming through and like, wow, you know. And now the market is so much more saturated.
Yeah,
you know, it's never going to be quite the same as that. You know, when the likes of Bolt Throwers come along and Carcass and Deicide and all these bands, you know, there was a few to choose from and they were all brilliant. Now that it is saturated, and there are a lot of bands who do sound very similar, you know, and it's, if you played me a song by one band, I might not, you know, there is that. But I like the fact that there's these young lads embracing that old school sound, and I'm all for supporting that, you know.
Yeah,
and I think that's what I like about it. I feel like I'm part of that scene again because I'm supporting them, and with social media, I'm talking to them and I'm getting to know them, and a few of them have spoken to me about, you know, my band, and it's quite nice to hear that we've had a bit of an influence on some of these bands. So I suppose it's more of a personal thing for me as well, you know.
it's a bit like Andy with his access to all these bands, Bannermans and stuff, and then this is your sort of thing where, you know, I haven't got either of those things. I'm not making any connections with any band.
Yeah. It's right, yeah. But that's exactly it. I do. I have a real connection with it. So, and that's why it excites me, I suppose.
Mm. I've got access to farmers.
That's a whole different live stream.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I want to
That's
be
a
involved
livestock.
in that one.
Good one, Scott.
I'll have to go to the toilet.
Where are we
I
going?
have a question for you, boys. So, and it was we briefly touched on it earlier about the hunt. when you're looking for things, you know, to add to your collection, does that, when you're hunting, do you still get that adrenaline buzz? You know, if it, say for example, and Scott, you did it a while ago. There was a woman in your city selling some records,
Mm-hmm.
and you went round there and you have a look at them, and all of a sudden you see what records are in that collection,
Mm-hmm.
and that feeling you get when you, I've seen some that,
Oh,
you know.
I mean, there was the women that I went to see, and then there was the women. I don't know why I was always women, but or did I just pick the women to go and see? I don't know.
Yeah.
I went round the first time, and that's when I picked up. Well, you know, there was a few Iron Maiden singles, a couple of Iron Maiden Fame reissues, and like when you see stuff like that, you're thinking, this is right up my street.
It was awesome.
But do you still get like that? You know, like if you go and hunt and you're looking, you still get that buzz, that adrenaline rush of like,
oh, aye. And there was then there was the woman who got in touch with me, and that was the one. Remember, she sent the picture. It was like all the Slayer OGs, King Diamond OGs, you know, Testament. It was all that stuff, and I was like, oh, I'm all over this. And see, trying to pin her down, not pin her down.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to pin her down.
Chloroform.
I was trying to make a date. Nah, that doesn't sound right either. But I was trying to like get to her into her house. I was trying to get into the bedroom where all the records were kept. And she just kept getting back to me saying, "Oh, I can't do this date. Can you do this date?" And I was like, "Well, I can't do that date. I'll do this date." And then the day before, she would say, "Oh, I can't do it." And I never got to actually see that collection in the flesh.
Yeah.
So she's a tease.
She was just teasing me.
Yeah.
I think she'd sold it on. I think she was using that time to value it.
I think she must have said to somebody, "I've got a guy coming to see it," and then went to actually price it and went, "Oh no, wait it now." So, but when she sent that photo, I was like, "Oh, I've hit the fucking jackpot," and then I never got to see it.
Yeah. I just wonder if you, there you go, through the back door. If you still, and I suppose it's a bit different, and especially for Darcy, because he doesn't have that access to go to the shops like maybe, especially Andy and Scott being up there do. But when you're looking for something and you're hunting it down and you get it and you buy it and it's now yours.
Yeah.
When it arrives in your collection, is that as exciting as that hunt for it?
Oh yeah.
I think there's different degrees of exhilaration or nothing beats going out to an actual record store, finding something that you were never expecting to find. Nothing will beat that.
Yeah.
But honestly, I get excited when an Amazon box is sitting on my front step. Yeah. I grab my cutter. I'm excited. I even know what's in there, but I'm still excited. So it's different. I don't buy much from Discogs, but when I do, when I press that buy now or pay now, it's still exciting. It's I just bought that. It's going to come to my house, in a whatever days, but I don't know. I still get a thrill out of that, but nothing beats an actual record store find.
I've got to say the exciting thing for me about getting an Amazon record coming in and seeing it and it's sealed is, are the seams blown? Is it actually going to be something I don't have to send back? And it's very different from buying a record where you get to inspect it. I get it home and I'm opening it up thinking like, please don't be. And you open it up and there's a big fuck off seam split in, and you think like, you're going back. Let's do this again.
Well, I mean, it's the anticipation, because even when you know you've bought it, which is exciting anyway, it's then the anticipation going, I hope this doesn't get lost. I hope this doesn't get damaged. I can't relax until I've got it in my hands. Like I remember on eBay, I found a seller and he was selling Violence, Eternal Nightmare, and Sacred Reich, The American Way. And I basically put in this offer for the two of them, which I didn't think he'd accept, but he did. And I was like, holy shit. And I was like, well, they're mine now, but fucking hell, I just hope they arrive. And they're not in the collection until they're in my hands. And when I got them through, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So it's just, although it is great to, I've been flicking through records before in a record store and I found like Overkill Horoscope for like 12 quid. And I was like, thank you, that'll do me. And I'm in the record shop and I'm like, oh, nobody's trying to steal it off me. And like I found like a lot of sabotage OGs.
Were you as cool as like, oh yeah, that'll do me? Or were you like, fucking hell?
Oh no,
I'll just go for 12 quid here. My heart's going like the clappers.
I was flicking through the records and I just saw the logo and I thought, oh my God, that is what I think it is. And then I thought, right, I know what it is, but how much is it?
Yeah.
And I picked it out and I was like, okay, that's coming.
That's a great feeling.
That was an easy fucking decision.
Yeah, no doubt.
What about when you're digging? You're in the record store, and I did this a couple of weeks ago on my birthday dig. And I know these days certainly the couple of record stores that are available to me, they don't have much metal. I'm not going to find much, so don't go in with a great deal of expectation. But I'm there and I'm digging, and I'm going. And I always start A to Z because certainly Vinyl Villains, they don't have a metal section. You've got to go through everything, and you're on A, and then you go to B, and then somebody comes to the shop and they're on D or E, and you're thinking, bastard. And so you're looking at the records you're looking at, and you're also looking at the records they're looking at, and you're waiting for them to pull up that record of interest, and they pull it up, and it's fucking Neil Diamond or something. You go like, brilliant, not in E, obviously.
Yeah,
E off the top of my head, but they pull up a record, you think
Jim Diamond.
That's fine. That's brilliant.
Yeah, Jim Diamond.
That I'd be fucked off with. But it's
that King Diamond. Jim Diamond.
I started off at A. You didn't start off at A. I'm working my way down. I was first. You're further down the line. You started on, even if they go into P or something. Just all right, social distancing, brilliant. But I was here first.
My strategy is to take a step back, stand right behind him, and then just tut and sigh until they fuck off.
I just lick their neck. And then they fuck off sharpish.
Yeah. Or just
got in and go.
Just show him your eye.
And then I just go.
Which one? Back then.
Isn't that the gorilla
joke? At the shop, and I've just got the whole A to Z myself.
Yeah.
See, I don't even have the luxury of going to a record shop and looking through records. If I didn't order offline, if I didn't order online, I've only got HMV in the next town, which I tend to go in maybe once a fortnight for a look, but I kind of go in for just the whole look at the fucking price of that type of browse, and it's a load of shit. They sell Queen the Greatest Hits and fucking In Utero 2 for £40, and I'm supposed to get a fucking erection about that,
Not at your age.
And they're like, it's just not. It's just, and they don't. I had this whole discussion with the manager in HMV. He was like, yeah, because they had when Noise fetched out all the Skyclad stuff. What the fuck's up with him up top?
It's bound to be something Scott said.
Scott's response to your erection comment.
I said to the guy in the HMV, I was like, "Where's all the Skyclad reissues that you got in?" Oh, we sent them back, and I was like, "Why?" Well, they'd been in a fortnight, and we'd only sold one, so we sent them back. And I'm like, "You fucking asshole!" That's what HMV do, though. They're like, they get fucking Amy Winehouse in on vinyl, but they send fucking Skyclad back, And I don't know anyone that ever goes in HMV and doesn't go down to the fucking rock and metal section. I don't see anyone buying from the further back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't, but yet they cater so heavily for those buyers, and I'm thinking they are absolutely your fucking Spotify users. Those people, the Amy Winehouse people, they're your fucking Spotify guys. Your Skyclad guys, is your bricks and mortar shop, but no. But I forgot what I was saying. Forgot what I was going on about.
I know what you mean.
I don't have. The last time I was anywhere was in Glasgow, and there's quite a lot of record shops in Glasgow. But I was with Julie, and she's of the, she's like, "Do you want to look in that record shop?" It's like when I went to Germany, I was like, "Oh fucking hell!" I'm here with Google Maps on, looking at all the different spots. Definitely go on there. We'll definitely go on there. And I have to put up with her shit, what she wants to do for a bit, and then I can drag her to the other side of the fucking Hamburg till we go to this obscure record shop, and then she'll go, "You've been in here 10 minutes now. Are we going?" And you're like, "Yeah, I've got to the fucking C section, and that's about it." And she's wanting to go.
Fucking hell. Got a record for that.
You know, and I'm thinking, what's the fucking point? You've got to go on your own, or with like-minded people, and I don't get the opportunity, to be honest. If I was going to fucking Glasgow on my own, Julie would be looking to see if I'd made a fucking Tinder account. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't get the opportunity. So if I didn't get anything online, I wouldn't get anything at all, quite frankly.
I don't get the chance to really go out digging, because I'm either when I'm not at work, I've got my boys with me, you know. So it's I kind of rely on the internet, eBay, Amazon, and Bandcamp and what have you. But I do occasionally get that real buzz when maybe someone on Facebook Marketplace is selling something. And I had an example of a while ago when this guy was selling some cassettes, and I said, you know what, how much do you want for them? There was quite a few titles in there that I fancied, you know, a few Carcass albums and this and that. And he said, oh, and I think there was about 50 cassettes there. And he said, oh, some guys offered me 80 quid for them, but I'm not sure really. So I thought, bloody hell. So I said, well, how much do you want for them? You tell me what you want for them. And he just said, oh, I don't know, say 100 quid included, plus the postage, say 120 quid plus the postage. I fucking couldn't get my PayPal out quick enough, you know. And it was like, but it was a real nice buzz. It felt that same sort of adrenaline as when you're digging and you see that Overkill fucking logo. Oh, that's coming with me, you know. Mm-hmm. And because I don't get to dig, I do quite like it. It doesn't happen very often. I can say over the last sort of 3 years, it's maybe happened 3 times, you know.
I'd have offered him 85. Well, you go straight to 120. That sounds like something else, you know.
Well, no, I said, you tell me what you want, because I didn't want to rip the guy off. You know, I knew what they were worth, and I don't think he did. So you tell me what you want. And if he would have said, you know, a £5 a pop, £5 each, I would have been a bit like, maybe not. But anyway, I suppose the point I'm making is really, it's kind of like, that's the closest you get to a dig, where you can pull an album out and go, oh, £12, you know.
What about the whole, what about the whole exit strategy? This got touched on now, Marty and Alan's stream last night as well. What happens when you get too old? Or
when you die, who's going to have your collection? That's me brutal here.
Marty hit on a thing last night, not to spoil their stream, you know, definitely go and check their stream out as well. But he was saying that his wife's disabled and she couldn't even get down to where he has all his stuff. And he's got a little lad who's only 11. So neither of those two want that shit on their plate. You know, and he was saying it could be his last sort of thing for them to, you know, if he was told, you know, oh, you've got 2 years to live or whatever, he sort of alluded to he would maybe spend that time making sure that he was going to leave his family in a less stressful thing, because there would be stress if someone just dumps fucking 6,000 albums on you and you've no idea. You know, and you're like, right, deal with that. The last thing they want to do is deal with that. You know what I mean?
I suppose it is a real. I don't really think about it that much, to be honest with you. But it is. I suppose it is a real, genuine thing, isn't it? You know, if something happens to me, what's going to happen to my collection? Because it's big. You know, there's a lot for someone to deal with there, and especially someone who doesn't know anything about how much it's worth, what's rare, what isn't. Mm-hmm. I suppose it is something I think unless it was an accident and I didn't know anything about it, but if I was given a time and they said, you know, you've got X amount of months to live or whatever, I think I'd probably start selling it, you know, and making sure I I passed the money over. It went to the boys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My wife, we have nothing in common music wise. My kids aren't interested in my collection. It's my collection. It's not an investment I've bought to pass on because they have no value. It would no doubt get sold, but my worry would be it would either get sold for the price she thinks I bought it for, or it would get or a fraction of the value just to get rid and clear up the space. And I've said to her, you know, there's a damn good cruise here for you when I'm gone. You know, you could go take the kids away on a great holiday here. But yeah, if I knew when my time was coming, or to be honest with you, if I and touch wood, if I got diagnosed with anything that was some sort of debilitating, I can't even say it now to be as that I couldn't use perhaps even dyslexia. But you know, if there was some way that I couldn't play these anymore physically, whether it be even something as mundane but equally as tough as something like arthritis or something, there'd be no point in me having them. And I would want to maximize the amount of money I could get back for them and pass that on. That would be my gift, I think, rather than just saying like, well, you deal with it, because they would get they could sell it to the local record store, get a fraction of the value.
I think you'd probably get a certain amount of pleasure out of that, knowing that you're selling them and they're going to the right people as well. You know, if they're not going to go, if you're not going to pass them down to your children, there's nothing good for them. At least if you're selling them, you know the people who are buying them are wanting them as a record thereafter. They know the value of it.
Your kids will be benefiting.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
No, I think Andy touched on a good point. If I was, I don't know, I lost both of my hands in a bad accident. I would something really, or I knew my time was coming because I got really ill, I would be selling things left and right, to be honest with you. But the one thing my wife does know is that this isn't here, come get this stuff. It's worth something. And that's my fear too, is it would be like, it's not garage sale stuff. It's a little higher end than that. And I would just want them to get a good value out of it. You're probably not going to get exactly what you think it's worth, but if I knew my time was coming, I would be really on top of things.
Rod just made a good point there. That's why it is a good idea to have your collection on Discogs, because you know you can tell someone your password and everything. They've got that app, and they've got a fighting chance of getting what it's worth, then, haven't they?
I actually have a few people in mind. I would say to my wife, contact this person and get them to sell my collection.
Absolutely,
10%, give them 25% of what they make.
But
you'll still get 75%, and it'll be a lot more than you would get if you just dumped it at a record shop.
And the person that you probably asked to do it probably wouldn't take 25% of it. You know what I mean?
No.
I'm up for negotiation, Scott. That's right.
You could get
that's right. If somebody in this chat, in this video, something like that happened, the other four aren't going to take advantage of that.
No,
absolutely.
But I think, what are you going to do?
I know Mike he'd sell it to the Zulu for a good price.
No, but as far as if something does happen to me, I'm going to have a hologram YouTube channel, so I'll still be here. For sure.
How would you hold up the records? They'd be like
the laser discs.
But like Mark touched on it too, it's not something that I think about a lot, but I do think about it because, I mean, years are going by fast. I'm now 53 years old, and I don't know, time is flying. Just put it that way. And but I figure the one thing that does make me happy, you guys, and I wanted to tell you about with collecting, virtual. The one thing is I'm in those years right now that I need this. I need my music. There's not a day that goes by that I don't have music on. There's not a day that goes by that I'm not thinking about music. There just isn't. It is absolutely 100% a part of my life, and without it, I would just be lost. So
Yeah.
I figure, you know, if something happened and I went suddenly in a car accident or something, I'm gonna be gone. I'm gone anyways. I can't worry about that. So that part I won't. But you know, you definitely need an exit strategy. But I still hope I'm listening to metal when I believe I will be when I'm 70 years old. I'll still be listening to metal. Why wouldn't I be?
Well, that's another point to touch on. I mean, what happened if you didn't have anything left and all you had was your collection? That could be the one thing that would keep you going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we can see it from that side as well. I mean, what if you did get rid of it all, and then for whatever reason you were left on your own.
Yeah.
And your music collection would have been all you had.
I just pretend it was in a fire and I'm having to start again.
You know what? Another reason to go digital, when you get rid of it all, you've still got it. And when you're too old and you can't play those records anymore, you can't read those CDs.
There's got to come a point where the value is going to drop because the people that are going to have the extra income to buy all this stuff and that, you know, the first Black Sabbath album is going to come a point where that was 80 years ago or something like that, and people just aren't going to have that connection.
You know, Mike, though, the thing, the value, the actual monetary value of my collection, I honestly don't give a shit what it's worth. It's worth nothing to me. It's worth it's above money for me. It might be worth something to my family if something was going to happen to me, but as far as me ever thinking, oh, this is worth $10,000, I don't think like that. I don't care.
I don't think like that either. Really.
I do think like that purely from the thought of, well, I get rid of all this and I'm passing it on. So I do look at things and think like, actually, that's a decent bit of money. I don't think about it from my enjoyment of the music. I don't listen to an album because it's an OG and it's worth 50 quid and I'm happy with it. But I do look at that album thinking, I'm going to get a decent price when I eventually sell that one. And I will eventually sell my collection. I would be very disappointed if, not that I maybe have a choice when I go, you know, but if I would love to be in a position where I could just pass on the value of it, the true value of it, rather than allow somebody else to do that. And to me, it's a lovely thought for me, but you know, who knows? We're not going to get. I'm probably going to be left, and it's all going to go, and my wife's going to give it to the charity shop and Oxfam.
Yeah, it's all going to come put its tits up,
and then someone's going to go digging in there and go, "Fucking hell, overkill, 12 quid."
Brilliant. Yes.
Bitch.
So we've covered death now.
Yeah.
We'll be going for. This is actually, it surprised me, 3 hours and 43 minutes.
I need another drink.
And Mike's gone for a piss. Okay, so my big speech about whether are we going to carry on? Are we going to go on for a bit longer?
Well, I'm going to say one thing. I am shattered, and my eyes are going to.
That looks no different from when you started. So.
I think I'm starting to bleed.
That's not even a real eye. That's one of those death splatter vinyls.
It's like the contacts you put in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to collect contacts.
I think we'll wait for Mike to come back. I think we've pretty much covered what we wanted to cover. Yeah. I mean, the fact that it's 3 hours and 43 minutes. I think it's probably one of our longest streams, isn't it?
Yeah, that's pretty good for the subject.
It's been a good night out, though. I mean, I don't look at these. Obviously, if anyone did an update video that was 3 hours 43 minutes long, I don't think we would quite last. But
no,
it was. It's.
Well, I just watch Bev's videos in parts.
Oh, that's harsh.
No, I just appreciate anybody that's been in the comments and hanging out with us, because the whole thing's a blast. You know, we were talking about the pros and cons of collecting. Well, for me, one of the pros of collecting is getting to meet a shitload of like-minded.
Oh, shucks, Darcy.
You know, and, well, whatever. But anyways, but just people that you say, you know, when you say, I cannot describe that feeling. Well, you guys know all those feelings that I get too. So, big pro to all you people that
is
tuned
true.
in tonight. So,
I mean, we've all sat and like talked for nearly 4 hours, and we never knew each other 7 years ago. Do you know what I mean? And we've all met through collecting music. So, and not just us. Oh, you guys in the comments.
These live
as well.
streams are about us getting together as friends and talking about music and what's kind of brought us together.
Mm-hmm.
And without our collections, you know, and obviously us sharing our collections on YouTube, it would never have happened, would it? You know?
No,
exactly.
And that's worth its weight in gold, you know, because I know we've not met you in person, Darcy, you know, and that, but it's this is as good as, really, you know, without spending a load of money and flying over to the freezing cold part of the world.
No, I think I'll be heading over there before you guys would be heading over here. So
excellent.
I'm pretty confident that we'll be going to a show one day together. I don't know when that will be, but I think it will happen.
Well, let's make it happen.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you, everybody.
It has been a blast as always. People in the chat, it has been great. Sorry if there's been so many comments tonight, so many brilliant comments, and I'm the one who puts up the comments. So if I've missed yours, it's generally because I'm engrossed in our chat anyway, and I'm also a wanker. Thanks, but other than that, which everybody knew. But so thanks everybody. It's been a blast. Hopefully we won't leave it another 4 months till we do another one of these, but you never know. We'll see how it goes. So thanks everybody.
Brilliant.
Thanks,
Thank you, everybody.
everybody.
Take care.
Thank you.